Oh, wow. Hey, folks. How you doing today? Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. My hair, it's wild because it's been raining off and on, and I just let it fly. I'm just like, you know what? To heck with it. This is what we're rolling with today. It's been a long day. Very long day. Yeah. So in case you hadn't heard, you didn't know what was going on, we've been dealing with some issues. Today I was supposed to have a book signing, and I didn't get to do it because there were threats that were made. And I don't know by whom. I can't say 100% who, because I don't believe that it was the people that we've been having problems with that did it themselves. Somebody did it, but it wasn't directly from them. So we don't know. And so we had to cancel the book signing. But we did have several people that had showed up to go to the book signing and that were still in town. And so we talked to a few of them, and they were headed out. Unfortunately, it was just people from Texas. They weren't too far away. And I do apologize for that, and I will make it up to you. And I'm sorry. But we do have one here in the studio, or two in the studio, and we appreciate them showing up. And we told them, we took them out to dinner, and we told them that we would, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have Chris Cliff right here if he wants to get in the if he wants to get in the camera. See the mother.
Hello, everybody.
That was Chris Clough and Gollum over his shoulder.
And then we have Jay.
Smeagol.
Jay doesn't want to be on camera because he's shy, but he'll speak.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to say hello?
Yes.
There you go.
That's all he's going to say for the whole show.
That's it. He's just going to sit there.
He's done.
So if you haven't seen or you haven't heard, this guy, he came out and supported me recently, and his name is Michigan Rob. And he's going to be coming on the show in a little bit, too. And so are you going to the store? Okay. Good. All right. So what we have tonight, of course, we have a show for you tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about an actual investigation we did last night. And it was kind of a jokey thing at first. It was just kind of like fun, but it turned into something actually happened because if you go out and do these things, something can actually happen. Now, we didn't see anything. It wasn't that dramatic. But we all heard something, a couple somethings. And I heard something like right after we stopped filming too, which we didn't do a very good job. We did better than some people that do that, but we just basically, had the camera rolling, and it was dark, and we didn't plan it. It was kind of a spontaneous thing, and we didn't have our stingers with us, our flashlights. So it just happened. It just kind of happened, and my hair's so thick right now, and this hat's actually hurting my head. You just have to deal with the hair, folks. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's gonna be. But so, anyways, we went out there to Turkey Creek, and we're gonna wait and let the chat fill up a little bit, and we'll talk about what we found. Anybody see the letter that Barton Nunley wrote? Did you see that? Did anybody see that? Let me know in the chat if you saw that. It's pretty funny. And of course, you have what's his name firing back on him, acting like he was nobody, right? Barton's a leader in this community, very much so. And I appreciate his support. Nick Valenti came out and supported me. Michigan Rob came out and supported me. Blondes and Booze, and of course our allies. They've been helping us and working with us, trying to stop what's going on. This mess, this madness has been happening. We're trying to get back to work, folks. We just want to do our show. We want to do our job and bring you great content, quality content. That's what we're all about. And they did announce on Facebook that they were going to attack us tonight. We don't know how. We just know what they said. And supposedly they've turned us into YouTube, which if YouTube does their due diligence, they'll see that we're legit.
They've been trying for months beforehand anyway. It hasn't worked.
They've already been doing it, but tonight they said that they were going to report us to show that we're fake. We're not fake. Our numbers are real. We're real. This is a real show. Real people. They can say what they want. They can do what they want. There's a bunch of crap that they've been saying. These people will do or say anything. They will do or say anything because they've been using fake numbers. Go to Social Blade. It'll tell you the story right there. You'll know who's faking it. It's very simple, very easy, and anybody can do it. And they are mad as hell at me, so they're trying to turn everything around. What they've done, I did. You know, or we did. They're trying to say. Accused us of everything. Felonies, home invasion, every kind of possible, just ridiculousness. Did you want to say something about that, Tony?
Yeah, I previously made a post, I think that we spoke about how I felt about this whole situation.
Yeah, let me turn the camera to get you on a little bit.
He said, what does this cord do?
Leave it to Tony, make a simple thing difficult.
Leave it to Anthony to have no management to make this place optimal.
Oh, my gosh.
So I spoke about this previously on, I think it was a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live or something.
I think it was Facebook. We were on Facebook.
I had...
But you only reached it like, a couple hundred people that way.
Yeah, I privately spoke to Wolf, asking him if I could take, a step back a little bit, not fully off, just I wanted to take a little bit of time off because it was becoming a bit much for me. When we started this, it was always me, Anthony, Wolf, and Sal. And then some stuff happened, and Sal, unfortunately, kind of got tired of what we're dealing with right now and had to take a step back as well. So I took on the mantle of co-host gladly. I was more than happy to do it because I ended up enjoying it, despite how nervous it made me in the beginning. But it was never about, I have always been very open that I have never had as much of an interest in the paranormal as, my co-hosts Wolf or even Anthony and Nelly, that it's always been something that I've been more than willing to be here because, I'm doing it with my family. And it kind of made all this stuff that's been coming out recently has kind of turned my heart cold to having that kind of same, drive and want to do the show. And it just kind of made me lose interest in what made it fun, which was coming up here and talking to everybody and, being able to have a good time and have people in the chat that, I could trust and I knew that were interested in listening to what we all had to say. And everything that's happened recently is kind of broke my heart because, you have what happened with Vault and, I always considered him a really good guy and a friend. And then you have what happens with our listeners who hear all this horrible, horrible crap about me and Anthony and will accept it despite the fact that, they've been listening to us for years and they know how we are. And I thought that we've always put up an image of people who were integral and honest, we try our best to be good people, and to listen to all these people who were once listeners talk crap about us just hurts. And it made me want to step away, not quit. I'm with Wolf, do or die. I'm not quitting until he quits the show. I can't, take being up here and hearing about all this hate and all this anger and all this pain that's being caused. And, you hear about the despicable, disgusting acts that the people on the other side are doing, and then how they're attacking us and accusing us of the very same thing. And I grew up, in a household that I wasn't on very good terms with my dad. And one thing that I have always I just despise it is hypocrisy. I can't stand it. I think it's one of the most disingenuous things you can do, is to say one thing and then do the exact opposite, or do one thing and accuse the other of doing what you're doing. It's disgusting. I think it's one of the most vile things you can do. And it made me lose interest in wanting to be up here because I kind of lost my heart for it a bit. Like I said, not quitting. I just had a private talk with Wolf and asked him if I could take, a bit of a break because I felt like I needed it to regain my love for the community, which is what the main thing that was holding me here is my love for my family, my love for the community. You know, me personally, I never needed to know what these things are. I never needed to know what they're doing or what exactly the makeup of their physiological or spiritual beings are. It was always about being up here with my family and always being up here with, you know, hundreds of people, thousands of people who listen to us and like what me and Anthony have to say. And I want to speak out about this because even though, you know, it hurt me to hear about those bad things that being said about me, it hurt me to know that people were saying those things about Anthony. Because it's one thing to say something about me because I know that I'm not perfect, but I know how hard of a person Anthony tries to be a good person. He's honestly, I can say this, my role model when it becomes Wolf and Anthony are my role model when it comes to being a good person. And they're who I look up to and who I want to be in the future. If I ever, you know, manage to get myself together, that's who I envision being later on. So it's always been my goal. And to hear people talk crap about someone I consider my goal, it hurts me because, you know, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're completely wrong. If you said that about me, you know, whatever. I'm not perfect, even though it's wrong, it's a lie, it's whatever. I could understand. Who cares, right? But when you say it about Anthony and you're attacking his character, that's when I have a real issue because I can stand by Anthony's character. No issues. He's the most moral person I've met. He is someone who thinks about the morality of every action he takes, or he tries his best to. I go into his room and he's listening to lectures and he's listening to, you know, all this kind of stuff to expand his knowledge, not only in the physical plane, but even just spiritual knowledge so that he can make sure that he is a good person. And that's the main thing that made me really turn away was the attacks on me, but more so the attacks on Anthony and Wolf. It's just hard to sit there and hear people attack people that you look up to like that. And it makes you, it hurts worse when you know that these people were people that you've once talked to and considered a listener and a friend. And that's really all I have to say about that. And, you know, that's, if you're curious about why you might not see me on some of the lives, it's because I asked Wolf, you know, if I could just be here for the main lives and the extra ones he does, if he could just do that by himself or, you know, at least for a little bit.
So the idea was tonight you were going to sit out and let these guys do it.
I was going to be on the side, but yeah, I wasn't going to be in the main focus because, you know, we have these two great guests who came all the way up from different spots of Texas, so might as well let them have the floor.
Yeah, and then you didn't do the show that we did, the impromptu show. That's where it kind of, you know, got to me because I was like, that's great.
But I am on the Tuesday Halloween show, and we recorded it, and it's a pretty good one, I thought. What do you think, Chris? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had fun.
He thinks that he didn't do good. He
didn't.
He kept.
It's about a 2-hour and 40-minute show. Anthony has to edit about 59 minutes of it.
I was gonna take it.
We had too much fun.
I was gonna take it in a different direction, but Chris, you sucked.
Oh man.
And you continue to suck.
No, you did a good job. We're messing with you, brother. We're messing with you.
We mess with you because we like you.
I think that Oogie Boogie sent a response to Barton Nunn Lee. It says, well, what do we have here? Barton Nunley, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one everyone's talking about. Have you heard that? Did you hear that one? That's how it started.
Yeah.
Okay, I can continue. He says, you're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking me. You can't be the right guy. Ooh. And then he goes on to say, I'll skip part of it there. And then it just says a bunch of stuff. And then he says, Oogie Boogie says there's trouble close at hand. And then Barton tells him, he says, you know, he's like, you release me or you must face the dire consequences. The people are expecting me. I can't sit in these dark places. I got to go. And he's like, no, you can't go. And this is what he says in response. He says, oh, brother, you're something. You put me in a spin. You ain't comprehending the position that you're in. He says, it's hopeless. You're finished. You ain't got a prayer, because I'm Mr. Oogie Boogie, and you ain't going nowhere.
Wow.
Anyway, that's the response I read on Facebook. I don't know if it's legit. Could be fake news. I don't know. That's what I read, and I read it in, whoa, boy. Scary stuff. I'm telling you, man, when you're getting threatened from the swamp man, might be time to split. So, yeah, dude, it's a bad situation, man. What is Barton? What is he ever going to do? I mean, he's got the. I'd be terrified.
Well, Jack Skellington, Anthony's going to come save.
Skellington. We used to call you that too when you were little, Jack Skellington. I'm shaking. I'm just like, I'm so nervous. I was like the Blair Witch Project last night. I was like,
I'm so scared.
I had snot bubble coming out like it was because I'm so scared. I was terrified. Just look at my face. Living in fear. It's awful. It's just a sad thing. This is a bad country. You got to be careful. So anyway, we did an investigation last night, folks. We almost have 300 people in here. We'll get started here. So we went out to Turkey Creek, and it was in the middle of the night, and we thought we'd have fun because there are two things there, and the legend in between there and where we were at in Marble Falls is of the Bear King. And if you guys have heard, I'm pretty sure you've heard Eric Palacios talk about it, and I think David Weatherly talked about it on the show too. I know we talked about the Bear Man and all the reports we're getting from that area. Here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? Excuse the hair, man, the humidity and everything else, and I haven't had a haircut in forever, so it's just going to be what it is. It looks like a big mop on my head. I don't care. But the bottom line is, we're out there, and we decided to go, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and we went through one Bigfoot report where someone had a rock thrown at their vehicle, and I showed you, Clough, last night. What did you think of that, where I showed you how high up that thing had to have been? Put the camera on him.
That ditch was pretty deep.
You got to talk into the mic.
Sorry.
Get the mic. There you go.
All right, I was going to say,
That ditch was pretty deep.
man, look,
Let me tell you something.
That ditch was pretty deep, though. It was pretty deep, so that thing had to be pretty tall.
Yeah, I'd say
like
9 feet probably at least.
I was guessing 10.
Yeah, it was a big creature. Mm-hmm. And I think it was by the grace of God when it threw what it did that it didn't go through the windshield. And then, because the guy that told us that story, he was saying that he believed it was something like, that saved them, like from that rock going through the windshield. Thank you, Barry, for that donation. We appreciate it. We're even getting attacked for the donations. People give us donations. They're so mad. Hey, they gave you money. I'm like, dude, do a good job. Do a good job. Put on a good show. Be legit. Too legit to quit, right? Do what you got to do, and YouTube will reward you because you're doing the honest, fair thing, right? And do what's correct. You follow the community guidelines like you're supposed to, and there's not a problem. I haven't had a problem with them. I've had people reporting my stuff left and right. I don't care. Because I'm legit, and if they do their due diligence, they'll see that I'm legit. Not worried. I'm gonna tell you this though. One thing I'm gonna have to say, okay, is that. Just because you're throwing shade on someone doesn't mean they're not going to look at you. They need to be the people that are reporting this need to be looked at, and I'm going to appeal to them for that because what's fair is fair. You can look at me all you want because my numbers are real. Go to Social Blade. I encourage everyone to dig in. Look, I got nothing to hide. No skeletons. Oogie Boogie talking about I got boogeymen under my bed or so. I don't know what he's. Jitesh, thank you for that donation, Jitesh. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay, I don't know what unless it's him. Hiding under the bed. Like I said, if I laid down and he's underneath
I don't think he'd fit.
Yeah, it would be pretty hard fit, I can say this. I go to bed at night or during the day, whatever time I go to bed, depends on when I go to bed. I sleep soundly. I can sleep soundly. I can wake up in the morning and I can look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm a real person and I do the right thing. And if I drop dead, I have a pretty good idea. I feel like I know where I'm going. Maybe I'm wrong. Because we don't know. We don't know what awaits us. We know what we think. Thank you, Susie Jago. We appreciate that. And folks, we had a talk with Tony. We straightened him out. And we're like, you ain't going nowhere. I'm just kidding. No, we whatever he decides for his future, what he wants to do, I think this last round of attacks has hit you pretty hard. And okay, you gonna answer me?
Yeah, I was just pulling the mic over. It's not really so more on me. It's just what they were saying about Anthony really hurts. Because me and you know personally how moral this guy is.
Yeah, we do.
You know, we've had talks and we're like, oh, you know, we kind of just drifted. And then Anthony's like, hey, that's not correct.
Anthony's he is the moral compass, and he does bring you back, and so does Nelly.
Nelly does too.
They will, people like my brother and Scorpion get too. They get kind of out there, and you're like, okay, let's calm down. Let's calm down. Okay. We don't need to,
It's also aggravating, like on a personal level to me, because not only is it wrong, to say that me and Tony broke into someone's house, but just if you just take the morality out of it, it's just stupid. Because nobody's gonna believe that. If you're gonna come after me or Tony, there are like glaringly obvious things that you can go after first. Pick the low hanging fruit first. I mean, they said that they've watched the show from the beginning. Well, if you've watched the show from the beginning, then you would. If you were a smart person and you wanted to say something about me, then the first thing you could have gone after was like, the way I speak. Stupid. That I'm personally offended that there has not been, that you're so stupid. There hasn't been like one parody of like the way my oration skills or whatever. Dude, just use your brain. There was a golden opportunity there, but instead you skipped to, he broke into someone's house. Yeah. Dude, come on.
It's like,
the way I stutter and stammer and stumble through my sentences sometimes, like you couldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
if you wanted to make me look bad, you could have exaggerated that, stupid.
And for me, I mean, how many times have I rambled on about stuff that I'm trying to make it up in my head? Like there was so many easy low hanging fruit, and then said they attack us like this, which was just stupid. First off, it's hard to believe, and the people that do believe it, one, it's annoying and hurtful because I thought you would know better. And then two, it makes you look stupid.
To be fair, though, there was a very small handful of people that were but what's sad though is a few of those people used to be listeners of ours and friends of ours.
Yeah, and big time listeners. They were always in the shows.
We gave them merchandise and gave them stuff and to turn. I think just to turn on us like that. That's what really did it. I think that was the linchpin to the whole thing. Was just. You're going to turn on us that quickly and that fervently. It was
really the
mind-boggling
vault that kind of was like the final
last straw.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I had my misgivings about Vault, and and I had a talk with the person that he was hounding for that footage, and I was just like, no. Mm-mm. And so I stood fast because a lot of people were trying to convince me otherwise. A lot of people were in his corner, and I was like, nope. I know what I know. I don't care. And I don't care what you say. I know what I know. I know what I know. I know what I know. Now we're going to move on. So hopefully things will work out. But here's the things, guys. We got to talk about this investigation. We got about 30 minutes to talk about it. What we found, was a real live living Bigfoot. I'm just kidding, folks. No. Now, we went out there, and it was the weather was just a little bit drizzly. It wasn't too bad, but it was muddy. It was wet, and we walked around out in the mud, unfortunately. Here's what happened. When we got out of the vehicle, and the three guys sitting across from me can attest to this, we heard what sounded like a roar.
Well, Chris was saying before that, he heard something while we were driving up, and I didn't hear that, but Chris was saying that he heard some stuff.
Yeah, you were in the front, with the window down, so you would have heard what did you hear?
Sounded like a grunt, to be honest. Kind of like a. It was just weird just hearing that though. Just I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say. Whether it was a Bigfoot or something. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a big grunt. But yeah,
okay.
That was pretty much it.
All right, let me continue. Okay, so I didn't hear that. When I got out of the vehicle And we decided, hey, let's make a video right now. And we were all talking. And what I heard when you guys had all come around the other side of the vehicle, I heard at the same time we were all standing there. We were facing I believe it was the north side of the creek, of Turkey Creek. And then I heard a growl or a grunt kind of mixed with kind of like a roar, I guess. That's what it sounded like to me. And it sounded kind of like, how when you hear a large cat in Africa, well, you probably don't know, but like a lion in the distance, that's what it sounded like. Now, it's not off of the table that it could be somebody out there far away from there that has a lion, because there's a lot of lions and tigers that are in captivity here. So maybe it was, but the fact is that there's been a Dogman report out there, and there's been 2 Bigfoot reports out there. 2 Bigfoot reports. One, I can tell you exactly what it was. It was Sean, not like a friend of ours, but and then another guy who actually knows Anthony's aunt. But it's really sad that when these people tried to talk to somebody from that area, that person immediately tried to debunk them and say, "Oh, that didn't happen." That was the second group of people that had, and they were years apart, the sightings, but that person, I think, that was trying to debunk them was somebody who I believe was trying to, so people wouldn't be scared to go out there. They want to keep it open or whatever. And I think that person was trying to start a business or something, and then it didn't work out. And so I think that was part of it. And it was just something odd about that situation, how fervent that guy was, that didn't happen, whatever. And then later on, that person's literally their first cousin came out and said that they saw something out there when they were teenagers at night fishing, and but they didn't know what it was. They couldn't say what it was. And so they were like, I don't know why he's so fervent to try to debunk these people, But when there's 2 different groups of people that don't know each other years apart, something's there.
Yeah.
The first story we got was from Sean, and then the other one was Spencer. That's the guy that lived close to our hometown. Sean, and I think there's more people that just haven't come forward, that we don't know. But Sean, he told us that it was him and his girlfriend, and I think her name was Kate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, they were walking over to that cliff. You saw the little cliff where we were at, right?
Yeah.
Clough saw the cliff. Tony, you were there. Okay, so we all walked over there to where it was at. It's a steep embankment, and there was a chocolate brown, I believe, colored creature that crawled up the side of the hill. They saw it was carrying something in its hand, which looked like a fish. Now, I believe the fish part, because at that time, when it rained and the water had receded, that part of the creek that kind of loops around, like it looped around in like a U, that area had gotten cut off, and so there was like a pool there full of fish. And as the water began to dry up, that's what they were left there. So a Squatch or a Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, could go in there and probably just grab one. I mean, just grab a fish, So, I mean, that was coming up the bank. And I think when they walked over there, they're joking, laughing, talking. Then they're like, what is this? And the thing is looking up at them going, what are you? And then it scrambled up the hill kind of toward them. But I think I don't think it was trying to attack them. This is my opinion. I think at that point it had its food. I think it was just like, go away. This is my territory. And they did. His girlfriend was the first to boogie out of there. And then they took off. And, of course, this Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever your preferred word is, the way they described it was a chocolate-colored creature, didn't have a snout. It looked more kind of like a throwback human with a lot of hair. More hair, on the face and all over its body than any kind of human you would imagine. He was like, if you took, a Cro-Magnon, okay, and you just added more hair and then put real thick hair on the legs and not so much on the torso, but the legs and arms had almost fur. So very primitive looking creature. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of caves out there. Who knows? And this thing ran up the embankment at them. And they asked me my opinion on it. What do you think it was? I was like, it was the devil. It was and you saw it because you're evil and don't talk to me again. Yeah. Goodbye. And I hung up. Because that's what I do as a good man.
You read that Douay Reams Bible instead of the KJV, you're going to hell.
Don't be looking at nothing but the KJV. If you look at the KJV, that's all you gotta do. Keep your eyes focused on the Scofield Bible. That's it. That is the only word. I'm gonna tell you right now. Yeah, you're going to hell. So I was sitting there and I was listening to these people talk, and I'm not laughing at what they did, but anyway. So they asked me what I thought it was. In my honest opinion, I said I can't tell you what I thought it was. I don't know. I can tell you different ideas. But, I don't know whether they agree with me or not. We didn't really get to a point where we were like, okay, well, that sounds good. I agree with that. No, we just, they believe what they believe. I believe what I believe. What I think was going on there, I think it was some sort of something that probably lives in the cave systems there. And there's no telling where it really came from or what it was. Inner Earth. I mean, that's, that sounds crazy to the uninitiated, but we're initiated, right? So one of the things I want to say, too, it didn't chase them very far. They got in their vehicle and they took off. The second sighting was pretty scary because it was a dad and his son fishing at night, and they were on the other side of the creek. I believe this was the east side. And so what happened to them, they were on that other side of the creek and they were fishing, and it was nighttime, and there was a dad. His name is Spencer, and he has a son with him. This was years ago. This wasn't a more recent one. And it was probably, I'd say the other one was, so this one here would have been probably 12 years ago now. It's been a while. But they were fishing, and they looked over, and they saw something kind of move behind them. His son did. His son kept saying, Dad, I hear something. I hear something. And he's like, you're just being paranoid, because his son was afraid of that place because one time they had gone camping out there. And he thinks that they had a camper, and he thinks that something looked at him through the camper, and we'll get to that in a minute. So his son had his own experience. Now, when his son had that experience, he was only like a little kid. He was like, I think 7 years old or something. And I think this time right here, he was 12. And so he didn't like the place. And I don't blame him. So anyway, he was standing there with his dad, and they were fishing, and his son, they had those headlamps on, and his son kept looking with the flashlight. And Spence said by the time he had finished looking around or whatever, he sounded kind of aggravated. He was like, my flashlight was dead. And I told him, son, you need to stop. There's nothing out here. It's just us. And he kept saying, Dad, there's somebody out here. There's something out here. We need to find out what's going on. And his dad finally turned around, and he had one of those headlamps on or whatever, and he saw something that was only about 15 feet away from him. And it stood there looking at him, and it had something in his hand. He didn't know what it was. He thought it was a rock of some kind, but he couldn't really tell. And he said it was up against its body with its arm there, and it was staring at him. The description was very similar to what Sean had seen. Now, the description that he gave, I believe, matches almost identical to what Sean and them saw. It was the same creature, the same type, although it was a lot more massive and a lot taller. And that the one that they saw would have been years before before Sean's encounter. So maybe not the same creature, because the one that Sean and them saw, they estimated between 6.5, 7 foot. This one was between 7.5, 8.5 feet. So very similar. Like this thing could have been its dad or its brother or whatever. I don't know how their families work, but this creature was definitely very large, larger than the one that was seen like years later. Now, if you take these stories, separately, then and you can say, oh, well, they saw something. They don't know what they saw. It was nighttime, whatever. The story that happened to Sean, the first one, the thing that crawled up the embankment, that was in broad daylight. That was like 3 p.m. And it was a kind of a cold day, and there's not a lot of people out there in the wintertime. Or it wasn't winter, it was late fall. The other one was in the middle of the summer. And that unusual for that time of year, but it was so hot. I think the mosquitoes were so bad. It's probably why there wasn't nobody else out there. So what Spence saw with his son definitely looked like a Sasquatch. Now, I've talked to both of them because his son's now not a kid anymore. And he told me recently, he's the one that actually reached out to me. He says, dude, you got to tell this story to me and my dad about, and I said, well, I'll find a way to get out there. And so kind of planned when Chris and his wife came out, we just said, you know what, well, let's go out to Turkey Creek. Let's go look. So that's how it happened. So what ended up, what is that? Your
Tony's
chair is
chair.
like horrible. Do we have like any WD-40 for that thing or something?
It's a noisy chair.
Yeah, it's very loud. It's like my Titan seat, whatever, the one in the one truck. I'm like, dude. So anyway, so what happened is we're out there, and we're tracing the footsteps of these encounters, and so we did a little, like, I don't know, was it 9-10 minute video or something?
Yeah.
And it wasn't good quality at all because we weren't, folks. We were out there.
It was just a spur of the moment.
Spur of
They
the
ain't been
moment. We didn't even
playing
have our cameras, our right camera equipment or our flashlights. So we weren't trying. I was just showing how easy it is to do that kind of boots on the ground. It's not hard. Thank you for that donation. It says new subscriber here, but wanted to say hi to friends in chat. Thank you. Just be kind. Be kind. That's all we ask. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. But if you go out there, I mean, there's a good chance you might see something. You might. I think it's probably because of the water. There's water there, and it's kind of out there on its own. It's like a creek that kind of fed off of the lake and then kind of cut off. But then it fills up, and it's kind of like a small lake. It's really a big creek. It's not really a creek. I mean, the creek runs for a ways, but it gets pretty deep. I mean, it's almost like a small little lake. That kind of wraps around.
Yeah.
But now I'll get into the Dogman sighting here in a second. Now, what happened to Spence's son? What happened to him when he told me his story? Now, when he was a kid, and what he remembers of it is something shook the truck, and they had a camper truck, like a sleeping camper, whatever you call it, on the back of the truck, whatever they could jump in and sleep. And it was just an old work truck that he put a camper on. That's all it was. And it was old. They said the camper is probably 20 years old at that time. And somebody had pushed the truck. And his son wakes up and he looks over and he's like, Dad. Now, the little brother was with him too. And he was like 5. So they had another son or whatever. And he got traumatized by it to the point where he never went back out there and went fishing or did anything. And this thing, whatever it was looking in, like kind of moving its head side to side. And he said the truck was pretty dirty. So luckily for him, the window was like kind of, but he could see the movement of this thing through the light of the moon. And he was trying to wake up his dad. And he said that it moved the truck again. And he said that there were handprints. Like you could see like prints on it or whatever. And his dad, Spence, the guy that I know, I don't know him well. I know him. He's like a friend of a friend, but I've met him in person before. But he said that there were some sort of like smudges on there. He goes, but I couldn't tell what it was. And I thought maybe, the kids had done it or moved it, whatever, because they were trying to show it to him, but he didn't want to believe it. He's like, I personally didn't believe in Bigfoot. Been out in the woods my whole life. I never saw Bigfoot. I never saw anything that would show me any kind of proof that says that anything like that exists at all. He said only one time when I was hunting up in Wyoming, he said I heard a howl in the distance and I knew it wasn't a wolf. I don't know what it was. And he goes, and it scared the crap out of me. He said it just sounded like a roaring howl. He said, if that's Bigfoot, maybe that's Bigfoot. And I was like, well, maybe it's a Dogman. I don't know. I don't know what this was. Get some water. So they're sitting there in the back of this camper, and you have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're both like, and he literally says, I covered my brother's mouth so he didn't scream. So he was cognizant enough as a 7-year-old not to do that. And so him and his little brother kept pushing the dad. Finally, the dad turned and was like, what? Woke up and turned and looked, and the thing had already walked away. He said, there's something out there. So, of course, he grabs his firearm and he opens the back of the camper and he goes and he looks and doesn't see anything. He said then he saw like a shadow move kind of in the corner of his eye going up the hill. Y'all know where the hill is at, we were at.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's as close as he got. He looked with his flashlight. He didn't see anything, and then he told them, go back to sleep. And of course, they were not in the going back to sleep mood at that point. So they ended up having to leave. And he was kind of aggravated. He was kind of ticked off. And he said, man, I was mad at my sons at that time. If I'd known what I know now and what I'd end up seeing, he goes, I would have not been so critical of them and chastised them. Because poor kids, he actually chastised them because, he thought that it was bullcrap. And, I mean, I guess there's no handbook that tells you how to handle Bigfoot. I mean, there's people that have written books about it, but
It's always nonsense until it happens to you.
until it happens to you, yeah. And so Spence said, when it happened a few years later, that's when he woke up to the reality that, hey, these things are real. There's something on the hill standing behind me as we were fishing. Pretty much take the description of the other creature, but make it a bigger creature. And now this one, I don't think it was the same exact creature. I think it's the same one as in species or whatever it is. But I don't think it's the same exact creature because the one he saw was bigger than the one that was seen years later by Sean and his girlfriend Kate and his friend, or his cousin, sorry. Now, funny thing, his cousin actually is the bigger, tougher guy as he thought he was, but he ran first. He ran before the girlfriend did. Didn't get a chance to interview him or talk to him, but I thought that was kind of odd. And it was like he's the big tough guy.
I mean, sometimes like the bigger, tougher looking dudes don't have as much fight in them as someone like half their size.
Oh no, it's not surprising to me, but it's funny. It's always a funny crack up.
Yeah, it's like they look stronger, but they're just stronger at running away.
Yeah. He's like all the muscles just got him to run, run. And I'm not cracking on you. I don't know you or anything like that. But yeah, I'm cracking on you. But I don't know you. I'm not trying to offend you, sir. I just thought it was kind of humorous that he ran and he's fast. Because Sean's girlfriend, who's now married to him, she was like, he ran fast. We think a big dude could move. I can run fast. People are surprised how fast I can run.
You don't have to be super fast to outrun a cryptid. You just have to be faster than the slowest person you're with.
Right.
And then just outrun them and you're good.
What do you think? Like, would I be able to get away? I don't know. I'm pretty fast for a big guy.
Well,
probably. I don't know. Probably.
Nelly has short legs, so
Huh?
she can't run very fast anyway.
I would have to pick her up and
You
carry
would have to
her.
carry her.
Yeah.
Well, we already discussed this yesterday.
Well, I mean, if we want to survive, we're gonna have to leave her behind as bait. and then
Oh
we just
my
go.
gosh, man! I'm gonna tell you right now. Like we had this debate last night in the truck, and we were talking about, or in the SUV, we were talking. I said, "What happens? Okay, we have 3 people who don't work out, then we have 3 people who do work out. Okay, and so that would be me, Anthony, and your wife, Chris, Laura. Well, you worked out a little bit with me,
Oh, just a little bit, yeah.
and then you like to diet. You and Barton both. Barton's in the chat going, I can attest to this. Barton, though, did the full 14 exercises.
No, he
That's-
followed
yeah,
these
Barton-
14
That's the third.
exercises.
That was impressive.
And then at the very end, he was all like, "Okay, I'm feeling tired," and
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
felt bad. He looked terrible.
and then I was like, "Barton, you don't look tired. You look like you're about to fall out. Like, what's going on?" He goes, I guess it was harder than I thought." And I was like, "Dude, you were doing it so easily."
I mean, you got to realize, though, Bigfoot and Dogman, they don't need to work out. They're they're jacked already. They don't need to snort, what's it called, protein powder,
Pre-workout.
pre-workout solution. They're good. So we were talking about it, and we said, well, who would we leave behind and who would we carry? And I'd have to carry Nellie. I mean, that's my heart and soul. I'd have to carry her. Anthony would have to carry, I guess, Mushu, and I guess you would be carried by your wife.
No, we talked about this. I believe that I would just kick Anthony's foot, and I believe that all that muscle would have the Dogman would have a tougher time chewing on Anthony, leaving me a little bit more
Because he's so
room to
gamey.
run. Yeah,
He's so
he has too much gristle on his meat.
Yeah, Tony is gonna. Tony
He's got
looks
that tendon strength.
he looks a lot more tender,
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the
Jay?
male.
a lot more
Well,
soft.
you went to
Softer
dinner with
meat.
us earlier, Jay. What do you think of everybody that would, who would get away from the Bigfoot or the Dogman? Who do you think?
Anthony.
He said without not even miss a beat. He's like, you're fat, you're out of shape. You're gonna live. You're gonna live.
Sad thing
But he
is, you
vapes.
probably don't have to trip me. Or
He
anything.
vapes though. That's gonna hurt him, right?
Once in a blue moon.
That hurts him. I believe that it's gonna hurt him. I think that's what's gonna. I'm gonna stick to that.
That way, well,
No, you know what I think? I think it's like this. I think that because people are like, oh, I'll fight it. I'm not going to fight this damn thing. I'm telling you right now. I'm just going to be like, well, God, this is it. I've lived a good life and I'm happy. Not that I'm going to be eaten alive and torn into shreds, but I would be happy to just, whatever I got to do. Because I believe in God's will and that's it. But that's all you can do. You can't really fight these things. And I really don't know if we could outrun them, But if they're interested, you got to throw somebody behind and leave them behind or whatever. Chris, you would probably be the most out of shape.
Yeah.
So that was that was what we came up with. We decided that Chris would be the guy that gets left behind.
he does like
My wife
a
is faster
supple.
than me though. She is.
So okay, and you know what? That's another thing. I'm going to say this, Chris. You, put the camera on Chris. I want to ask the question.
Okay.
Right? You worked out with me.
Yeah.
Okay. What is my workout like? Mine.
It's very intense. I mean, if I were to do it, I'll be brutalized, man. That's some pretty hardcore stuff you're doing.
So I just put Chris through two tricep exercises and 2 bicep exercises.
That was it.
That's it. So just 4 exercises, and he was done. He was toast.
Okay, now I'm going to say something, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I do pretty heavy weight with a lot of reps. I do a lot of reps, and so I had just done a set of 60 on a tricep exercise. Chris, how many times did you do it?
Oh, I mean, I did it. Was it 10?
No. How many times did you do what I did?
Oh. See, which one are you talking about though?
The tricep exercise.
The tricep one.
Because that's all you did was that.
I
biceps,
didn't do a whole one.
He couldn't do one.
I couldn't do one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Anthony, you did. I think you did what, 2?
Like how many reps of the tricep pull down you did?
I was doing, yeah.
No, I think I did like 5 or 6.
You did?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I mean,
I
because
think I did like 200.
you weren't using like heavy weight for you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Well, it was 150.
It was heavy for me, but like that's the kind of weight that you do like 30 reps with. For me, I got like
I remember
5.
you doing 5 or 6. I thought you did like 3, something like that. Because you impressed me though with your chest. You've done it. You've done. I didn't see you do the tricep thing. I'm not gonna lie, but I did with your chest. I've seen you do chest, and I've seen you do some pretty good weight. Like he's literally built himself up organically, like you're supposed to, not taking a bunch of crap and doing all kinds of junk or whatever. Just natural growth. That's the way to go. I've never taken any kind of substance to help me. But I don't take creates. I don't take anything. I take protein. That's it. And I mean, most weight that people can do 2 or 3 reps on, I do like 3 sets of 20 or 3 sets of 30, things like that. People they have no idea. So, and then they're talking about, oh, he walks around with oxygen. You can't walk. You can't breathe. Is that the case? I mean,
No. I mean, if anything, I was the one dying out there.
No. I mean, well, yeah, because you don't work out.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced if you did though regularly, you'd do better.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was impressed with his form. Like usually you show someone an exercise and they don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of flailing around and like you have to correct them because they're gonna hurt themselves. But I didn't really have to do that with Chris. He just kind of picked it
You
up.
worked out before, right? It's not like you were new to it.
Well, I mean, I had a friend to help me out, but he didn't show me like forms or anything.
Well, we're gonna send you the whole video so you can know how to do it. And you saw what I was doing. So, hey, Starscream, what's going on, man? He says I take a pre-workout to wake up. Here, I don't take oxygen. It's empty. Damn. Yeah, but if you work out, I'm going to give you some advice. If you get some of this, it's called Boost. This actually does help you when you work out. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what it does. It keeps you from getting really lightheaded, and it helps you to do more reps. And I'm not joking. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but it will help expand your workouts. And I was working out for years without anything like that, and then when I found that, I was like, oh, it was just it's a game changer.
Yeah, blood oxygen levels are really important.
That's the only thing I will do that I will take for supplements. I don't other than protein. I don't take anything else. I don't do any of that nonsense. You can't do that. And Starscream, you work out a lot. You got to send Clef your exercise routine. If anybody knows, Starscream was the guy doing security over at the conference. You know, the evil conference, the scam, the scandal, the satanic ceremony. Y'all know that one. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Everything bad was happening there, right? Because of an article that was written by them. And they're like, ooh, something happened at the after party. Yeah, it's called an argument between 2 females. That's what happened. That's very simple. Barton was there. Everybody was there. Club was there. I mean, y'all were there. Mm-hmm. There was no satanic ceremony. Okay. There was. This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. This is so absurd. Okay. This is just the most. Anyway, Liberty, you were there. Right? He said, love my PRT. Thank you for that donation. Liberty had a good time. You were there too, Jay. Was there a satanic ceremony that took place?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Is that your final answer? Are you sure?
That sounds like what a satanic worshiper would say.
That's what they like. Bill Murray on what's it called? Ed Wood. Do you accept Lord Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? And Bill Murray's like, sure. Just so nonchalant about it. Yeah, that's what you would say. A Satanist person would do that. The chant into the singing bush. Starscream. Oh, folks, when you get accused enough of a bunch of jack-all, then you just say, you know what? I'm tired of the jack-all. I'm done. We're not going to argue about it. Whatever you let me let you tell it. You tell the story, tell the tape, how horrible everything was. When I was driving Garitano and Mike Turner back to the airport, they were just like, I can't believe all the Satanism that was going on there, man. What the heck? And I was like, yeah, I know, man. This is how we roll at our conferences. We're just out there, man. We're crazy, bro, for real. After party, just buck wild, scam, scandal, everything. How about just jealousy and envy? How about that? Yep, a stab of pride and envy. That's what you get. Hey, Blondes and Booze, how you doing? I hope things are going good for you guys. And Holly M, seeing everybody here. Overbill Automotive. Maddie, how you doing, Maddie girl? Let's see, Chris Anderson, how you doing? War Criminal 7. Let me tell you something. All right, we're going to do it again. We're going to do the conference again, and we're going to do it just as big. We did it big the first time. We did it bigger the second time. It's going to be bigger the third time. It's just going to get bigger. It's like going back to the Super Bowl, but every time you play, you just whoop their butt more and more. That's how it's going to be.
It's going to be bigger and gooder.
It's going to be more gooder than they are, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, this conference is going to be in the Walmart parking lot, and we're going to make s'mores, and we're going to make some s'mores. See, I could joke. I could do them jokes like he's always joking. I can do them jokes too. See, y'all don't even know. I'm
gonna make some s'mores and some crawdads.
You know what they say about me where I'm
ball.
from? They call me funny Ike. That's what they call me. They say I'm so funny. They say you should be a comedian. I say I know I should, but I just don't want to take things away from James Carey and all those other guys. That are so funny. I don't want to take away from those guys. I just don't want to be the center of attention like Bill Maher, Bill Burr. Bob Murray, all them guys, all them funny comedians, I don't want to take away from them. So that's why I don't do it. I would though. I would definitely do it. Y'all come check out my channel where I throw rocks. Okay, so anyways, and then when I get caught, I throw the world's biggest hissy fit since Caligula. And then I report you because you are of the devil and you're reading something that's not the King James version of the Bible. You turd.
Don't forget them eyebrows.
You see the eyebrows? Huh? Do you? How about some hot chocolate, huh? You have noticed that this man is unhinged. When he goes on his show, he's wacky, and there ain't no telling what he might do next. You could be next. Yeah, you could do you. You could be next. Look at them crazy eyes. Woo! Look at them eyes. Woo!
Evil.
I'm telling you right now. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, boy. I done murdered everybody in the whole world. Every stand in the universe. I did it myself with my little pick. I know I look like an old prospector, but I'll have you know I am a trained unaliver.
There's a big gold up in them there hills.
I'll get you. Fireman. Okay, folks. Anyway, we're gonna call our guests. Enough playtime, guys. Stop acting goofy. All right, quit playing. All right?
Yeah, Chris, get your stuff together.
Yeah, quit playing, guys. Y'all out
Ever since you showed up, dude, just throwing
Look at
everything
Jay's
off.
face.
Just
there. Nothing
Look
but
at Anunnaki's
crap,
face.
dude.
sitting there being and existing and breathing and stuff.
Way to go.
Chris, did he look? You need to take the tag off your hat.
He doesn't want to.
He said he's not gonna. Anthony tried to take it off earlier.
Yeah,
Chris was
jokingly.
like, "No."
Because
He's
I
one
know
of the hip kids now.
Yeah.
because I know he wanted to keep the sticker on there, so I was like, "Oh, let me get that for you."
I thought you were doing it for real. Like you didn't.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
It took me a while to realize what he was doing.
Chris was like, "Hey, stop."
Yeah, I was waiting for him to kind of like swat my hand away, like, "Hey."
He was like real close to me. I was just kind of like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I saw you start to kind of like don't, and then you realized what he was doing, and then that's when you started
You
throwing.
let him get real close.
Oh, so you did, but that's when you
was
start swinging. He
Yeah.
starts screaming. Okay, let's get this call going here, guys. All right, enough joking around, enough goofy, enough playtime. We're just having fun, man. Because I'm a tuber having fun. Wearing my socks as I walk through Austin. What can you do? You got to laugh, right? It's so, you just got to laugh. That's all you can do. All right, let's get this call going here. Oh, shoot. You know what? I don't know what his YouTuber name is. I'm not YouTuber, his Facebook name. Let's see what it is.
Thank you for that super chat, Kate. It's very, very generous of you as always.
Oh, by the way, everybody, today is Scorpion's birthday. He turned 45 today.
Oh yes, it's the 27th. Well,
Yeah, I already wished him a happy birthday. I said, happy birthday, old man.
I'm gonna have
Clean
to.
the
happy
toilet.
birthday,
If you're
Scorpion.
listening, Rob, can you message me your Facebook? Because I don't know your Facebook thing on here. I don't see it. Please. We got to get this going. We'll come back to the Turkey Creek Dogman sighting, which I don't know if that's a bear man or a dogman, and it wasn't a real long one, but it is interesting anyway. Happy birthday, everybody who's got a birthday today.
Thank you for that, Red Harvest.
Yeah, and let's see if we can get a hold of him here. I'm trying to.
Did you find his profile?
Yeah. Okay. All right. There it goes. Okay. All right. You got it. Because I don't know that, because I have his phone number, so I hardly ever use the chat thing on there to talk to him.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about some. I was going to say something about him, but we're gonna talk to him, so we'll let him tell it. Here we go. All right. Let's switch the camera there.
It's really quiet.
Oh, it's very quiet. Folks, can y'all hear that? Mm.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, you got to turn the audio. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Are you there, Rob?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We got you. We got you.
Am I coming through pretty close, pretty good?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
Loud and clear, Captain. So, Rob, the audience should be. What's up, Tony?
So there's an echo on his end.
There's an echo on your end, he said.
Okay.
It's like a very faint.
I got it.
Is that from us or is that Rob's?
No, that's on our end. I just had to turn the right knob. It should be fixed now.
Okay. All right. So everybody that doesn't know, this is Rob. He goes by Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and you have a channel and you have some other things. So just introduce yourself. You've been on the show before. I think everybody's familiar with you, but go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me on, Josh. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. That's me. YouTube channel, of course. And yeah, I've been on. I did a podcast with you. I think last Halloween you did a marathon. So we talked about some things, and you posted that, which was pretty cool. It's my first time, coming on and doing a live gig, which I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Now, Rob, you recently wrote a book.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear you. I can't hear you too well. Hang on one second here. I'm gonna have to do something really quick.
What is that glove? Try's flipping. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
and then Maddie said something and it just responding. She
Yeah.
says, try flipping. And she's like, just
Try's
kidding.
flipping. Okay, I didn't know
And
what
I
you were
just like,
talking
I'll
about.
try flipping and it just dies.
Oh,
All right,
God.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you good.
yeah, we
but
can hear you.
Can you hear
Okay,
us?
good. Yeah, you were coming in a little low, so I couldn't really hear you. But yeah, I did put out a book. It got published. It went live on Amazon July 30th. So it's been up for August and September, and here in October. It's called Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1 on Amazon, and you can simply type that on the Amazon browser, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and it does pull up for people that are interested. And The links for my book are on my YouTube channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. So, and all my stuff's in there, all my social media, everything's there. So, if you're a subscriber or not a subscriber, if you're interested, that's where it's all at. And yeah, man, I'm very appreciative to come on and talk a little bit about that and get on with the show here with you. It's kind of weird, you know. I wrote a book when I was 26 years old, right? It was a fictional book. This is long before Cryptid days. It was about this vampire. I named her Gabriella, right? So I was like 26, 27 years old. And I was brought up on Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney Jr. Always liked monsters. So one day I said, man, I'm going to pen a book, right? So the long and short of the book, Josh, is this. It was back, way back when the computer first came out. You know, the computer monitor looked like a television. You know, you had the bulky keyboard. So I'm about 400 pages into this book. And again, not familiar with technology way back when. We had a thunderstorm roll through, lightning storm roll through as I'm typing, and I had a loft at the top of my house. I was newly married actually at the time. The power went off. It wasn't for days, but it was for like 15 or 20 seconds. Power comes on, and every single thing that I wrote for that book got lost.
Wow.
So that was the end of my book writing career. So fast forward 20 years, you know, the reason why I came up with this book is because of what happened to me in 2018. Back in 2018, I did have a Bigfoot encounter. And I remember when I had this encounter that I had nobody to reach out to. I felt lost, alone. I felt like I was being judged or I would be judged. Didn't tell anybody at work or anything of that nature. So I started investigating it. I didn't even use YouTube. I didn't even know anything about YouTube as far as these live shows or to watch stories or do research on. But then I came across a couple channels and I started watching it and reached out to a couple folks and I told my story for the very first time. I think it was on Sasquatch Chronicles. People said, "Rob, you got to tell that story because I was suffering from PTSD and it was a living nightmare, right, what I was going through." So really the reason behind starting the channel, Bigfoot Mission Rob, and because of writing the book is for people that have had these encounters and they've gone through traumatic experience or dilemma is really what I'm all about. That's what my channel's about, and that's what this book is about. This book is 45 stories from people that have had true cryptid encounters. And I've been working on this book for 2 years, and these are from subscribers to my channel, and these are from emails. And I started this 2 years ago. The funny thing is, I never planned on writing this book, but I started getting inundated with emails about people wanting to tell their story in anonymity. So, with that being said, I just started, jotting these things down, taking note, and storing them away. And then I started presenting some of these on my channel, and someone told me, Rob, you should write a book about these. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, because what I'm all about is helping people, right, get through these things. So we'll get to the crux of it. In 2018 is what is really where it all began for me. June 15th, 2018, Cadillac, Michigan. My girlfriend Cindy and I surprised her. I said, look, we're going to do some fishing in Cadillac, Lake Cadillac. Cindy, not much of an outdoors woman, and I am. And I was like, look, if we want this relationship to keep moving forward, here's what I'd like to do. At least, give it a try with me. She reluctantly agrees and loaded up the truck and went to Cadillac, Michigan. We get in there. I rented a small little skiff type boat, got a little cottage, and we started our day. Right. It was about we got out on the water about 10:30 in the morning. and we went about fishing on Lake Cadillac. Now, Lake Cadillac is a very sizable lake. Anybody can look it up on Google Maps. It also connects to Lake Mitchell, another sizable lake. So, surrounding Cadillac is a lot of big homes, beautiful homes, a lot of small business and industry, but a huge, vast lake. So, about 45 minutes into it, we're not getting any fish, not even a bite. Cindy's looking at me and just gives me that look like, really, Rob, you drug me out for all this? So I'm like, well, let's do some exploring. So we're motoring across the lake and we come across this canal, and this canal connects to another lake, which I mentioned earlier, Lake Mitchell. We get on to Lake Mitchell. Now, Lake Mitchell, it backs up to the Manistee National Forest. In fact, the whole Cadillac area is surrounded by it, but this particular part of the lake is nothing but the forest. Not as many homes and such. They're all spread out. And all it is really is a beautiful backdrop of the scenery of the forest and this lake, another sizable lake. So I proceed maybe southwest on the lake to this cove. So, okay, I found a nice spot, a nice area to set up the tackle. So I said, Cindy, I'm going to let the boat drift for about 90 feet out. I let the boat drift from the shoreline. So I'm looking down, Josh and everyone listening. I'm looking down and putting together our tackle, getting together the bait, the lures, and whatnot. So Cindy says, "Hey, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat." I'm like, "What?" And I looked the shoreline. Now, you guys, the shoreline, pretty much the Manistee National Forest drops right into the lake. There's not a lot of area where you could stand around and toss rocks. There might have been an 8, 9 foot leeway, perhaps, to give somebody if they wanted to sit there and put out a lawn chair and fish. But that's about it. I said, honey, look, let me just put the tackle together. I'll join you and we'll check it out. But there's no one there. About 30 seconds later, she looks at me again and says more abruptly, "Hey, Rob, man, someone's tossing rocks." I stop what I'm doing. I look at her. I look at the shoreline. I said, "Look, there's no one there. I see nothing." I said, "Look, there's nobody here." I said, "It's probably some fish jumping around." I said, "Look, baby, let me get this together. Then I'll join you and we'll look together." So again, my head's down, and then I'm putting the tackle together, and then for whatever the reason, I look up and there's an object falling out of the sky. Bright blue sky. The backdrop of the Manistee National Forest is it's green, it's beautiful. The sun is ripping right now, bright orange. And I see an object out of the sky. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And no kidding, about 4 feet in front of our little boat we had out there, it was a rock about the size of a baseball. It goes kerplunk, plops right in front of us. So I now look to Cindy to kind of apologize, right? But I got to tell you something. Cindy's standing looking at the shoreline, and the look on her face made me wonder what in the heck is she looking at? Again, I mentioned this is June 15th. Cindy was a big sun worshiper. She had a nice tan going already by this point already. Her body, head to toe, I got to tell you, Josh, and everyone listening, white. She was pale white like a ghost. I'm like, what is she looking at? I looked at the shoreline, standing there at shoreline. Now we're 90 feet out, and there's this human looking creature. It had to be 8 to 9 foot tall, as I always say. It was covered in beautiful brownish, reddish long hair, standing there with its arms on its side. And the face it was disformed or disfigured. It kind of reminded me of like a person with severe Down syndrome. Anybody out there, I apologize for saying that because I know that's an issue people go through in life with their children and such and loved ones, but that's what it looked like. Very more disfigured. It had offset eyes, grayish, wrinkled skin, and it's standing there, and it looked kind of to me kind of like what like bewildered, right? So I'm looking at this thing transfixed. Now you have to remember, I can see this clearly. I see all the colors. Everything is beautiful. It's a beautiful day. Then from the side, it lifts his arms parallel to the water. It kind of tucks his head back a little bit. This chest, robust chest, he had a barrel chest, 4 foot wide at least. Now this face, this humanoid, Down syndrome looking person starts to metamorphose. The jaw drops. It gets detached literally from the face, drops about 6 or 8 inches, exposing a big, wide mouth. It's big enough where you could probably put 2 softballs in. He had it had a set of teeth, 2 up top, 2 on the bottom.
Oh
The
no.
eyes roll back black, and that scaly, wrinkled skin gets very taut and tight. And as I made mention, the jaws drop, exposing the mouth, and all of a sudden, from inside itself, from inside its lungs, its capacity, inside its inner being, it lets out this roar, this screech, and this yell, all in unison, directed right at the boat, right at me and Cindy. It has this force. It's such a force that one of my friends describes it as like a sonic blast. It kind of reminds me of if you watch one of those videos where a bomb is detonated somewhere and you see kind of the rings of the power just kind of exuding
Like the
from the
shockwave.
shock wave, yes, coming out. And I didn't see that, of course, but it's what I picture in my head because it hits myself. I stumble back a little bit. Cindy falls off the back of the boat now into the water with this roar, this scream, right? And now I know I have to go to my right to get her out of the water. But now at this point, as I made mention earlier, the reason I told you and described how it was a bright blue sky, green background of the Manistee National Forest, orange sun, the beautiful red, brown coat. Now everything, man, it gets dim and dull, almost looking through a filter. It's now deadened. It's like blackish and whitish looking, right? It seems like time stands still. I move to my right to try to get Cindy. I can't move. I don't know if I'm in shock. I don't know what it is, but I get kind of scared because I'm not seeing correctly and I can't move. I started shaking my head, shaking my head. I snap out of it. I regain cognizance. I can see color. I reach over. I grab Cindy. I lift her up. I get her into the boat. Even more scary than this encounter, right? What I'm looking at and what I just experienced and what happened to Cindy, I look to the shoreline. This creature's gone. I don't know what it is. Does it swim? Is it after us? Didn't care. Didn't matter. I sped that boat around and I just opened up that throttle and I sped across Lake Mitchell through that canal, Lake Cadillac, headed toward the area where I launched the boat. Cindy is shivering. I put like a beach blanket on her, get her out. I immediately look for some place to walk to. We walk half a block up, find this like bar on the corner. At this time, it's probably just after 12. It's a middle of the week around a Wednesday. Thankfully, no one's really in the bar. Again, it was just middle of the day. Everyone's working, right? So I go to the left. We get to this back corner of the bar. We get to this table. Barmaid comes up to us. Cindy and I still not speaking. We're just kind of looking at each other, kind of taking this all in. And the barmaid says, "What are you guys having?" Now, Cindy, Josh, and everyone listening is not a drinker, not a smoker, perfect health. She says, "I'll have a bottle of Bud Light and a shot of Jack Daniels." And I said, "Look, I'll have the same. Make mine a double." The barmaid goes back, get our drinks. Still, Cindy and I are looking at each other, still in disbelief or shock, not saying anything until our drinks arrive. Cindy takes that shot, pours it back like a champ. It kind of took me back, like, whoa, have you been hiding this from me? Are you a closet alcoholic? Again, that's the first thing I kind of say. He looks at me, kind of grins. I do the same. We wash it down with a beer. She says to me, "Hey, Robbie." I'm like, "What? What do you think that was?" I have some reservations. And I said, well, I don't know. What do you think that was? She goes, I think maybe it was that Bigfoot creature. Now, I have to tell everybody listening, she and I, as a couple, never were into Bigfoot. Did we watch our horror flicks? Yes, like most people, but not Bigfoot, not cryptids. Some ghosts, some paranormal, but nothing like this. I says, yeah, I think maybe it was. So then she says, should we contact the local authorities, call the DNR? I said, look, not a very believable thing to say. Some locals from southern Michigan comes up north. Nah, let's just pass. So it kind of wrecks our little trip together. We packed up our gear and we were gone within 7 or 8 hours and we went home. Then we immersed ourselves into Bigfoot, into demons, because this thing to me transformed, it metamorphosized. It looked like this humanoid, and to me it looked like a demon, like you would see in the Marvel comic books, right? So we're looking all this stuff up. We can't really find anything that really we could match up. There's no video, no pictures, no audio, nothing that kind of resembled anything. Some Bigfoot pictures, yes, but the demonic looking thing, no. So again, we're on the internet doing our thing. So August 15th of 2018, exactly 2 months to the day, Josh and everybody. Cindy and I did not live together. She lived with her mom and get a call from her mom. Rob, Cindy passed away. What the hell are you talking about? I say. Her mother and I weren't on the best of terms because I owned a bar and I was the demon I was the demon myself because I was a bar owner. Never liked me. Briefly said this and that. That says heart attack, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Hangs up the phone. Wasn't even allowed at the funeral. To this day, I don't really know how Cindy passed. Okay, so me personally, I don't buy that. Is what I'm saying. So, anyways, my world turns upside down, dude. I was like, man, I can't. First of all, I witnessed something that is not supposed to exist. Seeing in black and white, time kind of slowed down. All these things, and then she passes. Can't find anything useful on YouTube or on the internet that satisfied me. Go to the bar. I tell my manager, man, I got to dig into something. I had something. A tragedy has struck. Here are the keys to the bar. I trust you. All I have to ask is this. I don't know when I'm coming back. Don't rip me off, and I'll see you when I see you. And I didn't return to work for 6 months. And during the 6 months, I just dove into this research, and I finally got a hold of a few people that I could felt that I could trust. And one of them was Tex. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Tex and I struck up a relationship and a friendship. And Ben with Tex and I then went forward with he was already had Texas Front Porch on YouTube already, and he invited me to be a co-host on his show. I said, yeah, let's do that. And then that branched off into me starting my own channel on YouTube, Bigfoot Mission Rob. And so today, I've had a channel for 2 years, and I have researchers on, experiencers on, and I'll drop experiencer videos. And for me, it's rewarding. And that's how the book came about. So I started getting inundated with emails from people, subscribers, other people from around the world. So I just kept these things to myself. And I'll tell you, I've talked to many of these people, 45 stories. I got 90 stories, 45 made the book because of the 45 people I've spoken with, I have contacted because I had to do some background check. So it took me 2 years to write this. I started writing it almost immediately because people said, put these things in words. Because for me, it's therapeutic. I suffer from PTSD. I'll admit this freely. I saw a psychiatrist, man, because I thought I was going insane.
It's understandable.
So, long story short, that's the reason why I wrote the book. That's why I have a channel, is because I'm here to help people get through these things, whether they want to be anonymous or come on freely. then of course, yeah, and I talk to people that I trust in the field, and so yeah, that's kind of. And I'm sorry I was kind of long winded, but that's really how I got about to where I am today, man.
Yeah, we've been over this story before, but it doesn't change. Like I've heard it before, like when you told it, and then when we recorded with you, I think it was me and Barton. In fact, I know it was me, you, and Barton. And every time I hear it, it's still a very powerful story. And when you got into this whole thing before the incident that happened, now maybe you can reiterate, but what were your thoughts on Bigfoot, or what you thought it was, or I mean, had you even really? I mean, what do you think?
Oh yeah, even before this incident, Josh. Growing up, like I said, I was brought up on the old black and whites, as I said, Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, the first thing I saw that really I was intrigued with was Leonard Nimoy did In Search of
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot, right? Then I eventually saw the Patterson Gimlin film. So I've always been interested in. Well, today they're called cryptids. Back then, I didn't know the term cryptid. I just said Bigfoot, right? I always was interested in Bigfoot. I was always interested in aliens, UFOs, anything strange, mysteries, hauntings. Ever since a little boy, man, I saw my first ghost at 5 years old. And I've seen ghosts in my life. I've seen ghosts at my bar, right? So I've had many paranormal encounters as well prior to this. Then, another funny thing is after the encounter with Bigfoot or whatever this was, because today I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't matter of factly tell you that I seen a Bigfoot, even though I say Bigfoot encounter,
Mm-hmm.
because how it metamorphosed and changed, to me, I still have my doubts. And trust me, it's been since 2018. I've talked to a lot of people. I still have my doubts. However, it was something. But going back, yeah, I was always interested in all monsters because I considered Bigfoot a monster way back when, right? So I'm a fan of monsters, creatures, the paranormal, ghosts, all that stuff. I've always liked. I just never, you grow up. I went to college, graduated, go about life, go to work, get married, you know, and these things that we're all into as kids and young adults, we kind of put on the back burner. And my wife was never into that until we had a ghost encounter in our house, and she got really big into that as well. But so yes, to answer your question, I thought Bigfoot. I'm open-minded dude, so I thought that these things can exist. Why not? I think aliens exist. We're not the only people on this planet, man. We can't be. I think you're arrogant to think otherwise.
If you let me ask you a question. You said you've seen ghosts. You've had ghost encounters. Do you want to talk about some of that? I mean, do you want to give us a
Yeah,
411
yeah,
on that?
absolutely. I have this, when I was 5 or 6 years old, it was when I had my first, what I call ghost experience. It would always happen in my bedroom with my brother. We had bunk beds at the time, and the inside of the bedroom was painted like a light blue background, and we had brown bunk beds and brown furniture. One night, I wake up and I look at this wall, and there's this apparition figure on this wall parading on the wall. And I'm a little kid. I'm thinking I'm having a nightmare, and I immediately get out of the bed and I run into my mom and dad's room crying. There's a ghost in my bedroom. And like all parents do, you're having a nightmare. There's no things as ghosts. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, thanks, Ma, Dad. Stayed up a little while, went back to bed. Maybe a month or two later, I'm in bed and I see this same ghost parading on the back wall. Now, this ghost is not like very scary, and I'm going to tell you that's why it's weird because it was just like one of those ghosts that you would see at Halloween time. And I will tell you this, and people say, "Oh, come on, Rob," but I'm telling how it is. It looked like a person with a white sheet over their head with arms, shoulders, and black eyes. And this thing would parade across the back wall of the house, of the bedroom. So the second time I see this thing, I'm not as scared, but I am. So I jump off the top bunk and I and I'm seeing this thing still on the wall, and I wake up my brother. Dave, man, look at that. Look at that. Do you see this? And he was about 2 years younger than me. So I was five. So I was probably 7. He's probably 5. So he still wasn't still that little. He was enough to speak. He goes, I don't see nothing, Rob. And I see this ghost parading there, and then it kind of just dissipates. It happened twice, and those are the only 2 times it happened. Now, we're going to fast forward. I'm 26. I'm married. We're in our bedroom with my wife. Again, we never talked about Bigfoot. We never talked about ghosts, paranormal. And we are hanging out. I go to sleep. After about a year of marriage, we're laying in bed. And sure enough, Josh, I wake up in the middle of the night and I see that same ghost on the back wall parading around. And I'm like, what is going on here? I wake up my wife. I still see this thing, Josh. And she gets up and looks and says, I don't see nothing. You're crazy. I'm like, okay. Well, then it fades away. Happened one other time. Same thing. I look like an idiot. Okay, so it goes away. Don't have the encounter again. So throughout our marriage, we would go about and collect antiques. We would go to thrift stores, thrift stores, antique shops
sure.
throughout the state of Michigan, or if we were in Kentucky, Tennessee, because we did do quite a bit of traveling. We were dual income, no kids, so we had affordable income to do these things, and we collect all these trinkets. So we amassed all these trinkets. They're all spooky little objects too. Little wagons, skull heads, creepy like little houses, animals. So we had this room that we dedicated for this. So we bought a bunch of curio cabinets and set them up in this foyer area where you come into our house and these things would be right there for everyone to look at. So we set this up and, and that was that. So after about a month, we've got all these objects in these curio cabinets. And there's another section of my house that you can totally make extremely dark and go in. Um, this part of the house, I mean, you could shut the blinds and you could blacken the house. This is where we would watch movies. So one night I'm sitting in this movie room area, and I shut down the TV, going to bed. But I'm sitting there for just a minute, getting my thoughts together about the next day's business at work. And in the darkness of this room, I see a dark apparition superseding the blackness on the back wall. It was darker than the darkness. And it came out, kind of had like a humanoid looking posture to it or look about it. I tell you what, my skin crawled. It was freaky as all get out. I didn't tell my wife because I remembered about telling her about the ghost that I seen in our bedroom, which she blew me off and said that I was dreaming or what have you. So this I let go, but I was very scared. In fact, I just went to bed and didn't say nothing to the wife, laid down. And then during this time too, a lot of negative things started happening. The wife was having a tough time with her job. There were a lot of people that we knew that were young like us at the time that had passed away for no reason. A lot of odd things. My job was getting tough. And we both had jobs that we were very good at, but they just started getting tougher. We had like negative energy. And now I started seeing these out of the corners of my eyes, I would see shadows. Okay. So one day I see this dark figure again out of the darkness, darker than dark as the back wall. I said, look, her name was Rachel, my wife. I said, look, I got to tell you something. I'm not going crazy. I know you don't believe that ghost thing I told you, which was true, by the way. I'm seeing stuff and I'm getting scared. She looked at me, Josh, everyone listening, and says, are you seeing like dark shadows and things out of the corner of your eyes? And I'm like, yes, I am. Why are you? Absolutely. Yes, I am, Rob. I'm like, oh,
It would have been
thank
messed up if
you,
she was like,
Lord.
"No, I'm just seeing if you were crazy."
Yeah, right. You know, yeah, no, you're crazy. Yeah, I want a divorce. So yeah, so we're like, well, what the heck could this be? Now you gotta remember, I was married 7 years, so I was probably 28, 29, maybe 30. I can't remember exactly how old we were. So one day I get home from work and there's some woman in the house, so maybe a couple years older than us, and I can't tell you exactly, it was a psychic medium, or I don't even think ghost hunting was a thing back then, right? But it was some person that was into the paranormal. So we started walking in all the rooms of the house, and the room where all these artifacts or trinkets or whatever you want to call them that we had bought throughout the years were in this other room, right? Every room, no problem. And she finally, the last, of course, it's the last room. This woman walks in and she immediately says she senses something nefarious. The skin, she had goosebumps on her skin. She had, look, feel my hand. Her hand got cold. Myself and the wife, we were fine. Nothing was going on with us. She goes, there's something in this room. And then she asked, what about those trinkets and things? Tell me the story behind this room, these curio cabinets and all these objects you have. We went on to say we collected them at antique shops, thrift stores throughout, life, and got them all together. She goes, well, I think the source of what you guys are seeing is coming from these objects. Then she suggested a cleansing, a spiritual whatever. Again, back then I'm not really buying into this, to be honest. I said, well, okay, well, I'll call you back. I'm told, and she left. I said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing no cleansing. But these things continued to happen, right? So one day the wife says, hey, look, at least get this crap out of here. So it was probably winter time, and I go take all these objects out of this room and I put them in our garage. And this is probably just before Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas, right around that time. Take all these objects out, put them in the garage, and within 2 or 3 weeks, I was telling you about the negative energy. Things seemed to get better. It was like we were talking with each other more. We were more friendly because during this time too, I forgot to mention we weren't even talking. We were just whatever. We just weren't paying attention to each other. So, but now it got positive. We were talking, and a couple months went by. No shadow people. No weird happenings in the house, and work is getting better. Life is good. Life is fantastic. So we both said, man, there's probably something going on with those objects, or maybe there wasn't. Who knows? And again, I stored all that in like November, December in the garage. So comes spring cleaning. I go in the garage. The garage is situated in back of the house. The sun was rising in back of the garage. So when I opened the garage door, in my garage, I didn't store my cars in. It was basically a work area and a bunch of junk, workout room, whatever you want to call it. Everything, crap it was littered with crap. Excuse me. So in the back right hand corner is where I put all this stuff, right? And the back wall is it's dark. I mean, the sun's coming up, but inside the garage, I didn't really have a good light, so it was dim, but you could see enough to do the work, do the spring cleaning out of the garage. After about 20 minutes, sure enough, man, on that back side of the garage wall, I see the same darn shadow being peering out in on the back side of this wall, right by where all the objects were. I yell, I lose it, dude. I yell, Rachel, get your ass out here. What happened? You fall down? You hurt yourself? No, come here. That thing's back. Whatever the hell that is, it's back. I don't see nothing. I said, just wait. 10, 15 minutes go by, it's nothing. She's like, I'm ready to go back in, man. You're just whatever. I'm like, whatever. So right after she pretty much says like whatever or whatever she said, she sees this apparition, this shadow entity, man. She goes, that's it. So I said, I just, held my breath, whatever I did, bit my tongue, and I raced into the corner of the garage, grabbed all the stuff, which was kind of horrible because I liked the stuff. We spent money over the years on it, but I grabbed it, threw it in the back of my pickup truck, and I took it off, and I took it to a dump Because back in the day, a couple miles away, there was a dump where people just would drop drunk. So that's exactly what I did. I didn't even put it by the curb for the garbage man. I didn't call no special pickup. I just got rid of it. And then got a hold of somebody, did a cleansing of the garage, and we just had them go through the whole entire house with oils or whatever they did again way back then. And then yeah, I never had that experience in that house with the wife. So I guess long story short with this, it was probably things with attachments that we collected throughout the years, right? And they finally manifested themselves and showed themselves to us is my explanation.
Which object do you think it was? Did you have one in
Pardon me?
particular specific?
I couldn't tell you if it's a specific one because we probably had 40, 50 of these things, right, Josh? And they were all different. We had like 4 or 5 curio cabinets with like 3 shelves, and all the shelves, everything had all this stuff we had collected. So to specify any one thing, no, I couldn't pick it out. I assumed it was just all of it, or maybe one, but you couldn't pick out one identifiable object.
Whenever somebody tells me a story and it has ghost implications in it, because it doesn't even have to be about a ghost, but they have weird stuff that happens. Anybody who's talked to me will tell you one of the first things I always ask them is if they had any sort of objects or something in their house. There's a way to break attachments to objects too, and objects can carry energy. It's not necessarily like a conscious. It's just an energy. But folks, if you listen to the show that's coming out on Tuesday, we talk a little bit about, well, I guess it's like how tulpas, I guess. Well, I don't know. How would you guys describe it? This story, we can't give it away because it's coming up on Tuesday's Halloween show.
In a nutshell, we had one story that one of the best ways we could explain it is that through encounter after encounter with one of these like spiritual beings that there was like a residual energy that was left over that kind of it added up over time, and that residual energy as it built up, it kind of became a being in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been like the emotional energy that the person who experienced it projected, and I mean that's what a tulpa is. It's like a thought form manifested, or something that picks up on a thought form that's put out there and decides to take that form. It's kind of like surfing, like they just kind of ride a wave, except it's energy instead of water.
What is Marmar talking about? Had trouble getting in.
Oh, yeah, I talked to her, and I just had to adjust some settings so she could comment. It's no big deal.
Oh, okay. But I was going to say something, Rob. You have these encounters that you went and you dumped this stuff out. Did that solve the problem, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, what happened was, I just got rid of it, dumped it out. Then I said as a backup. Now we kind of really realized there was something more than our imagination, right? So called the same woman, got a hold of a different person that came there, and they did like a cleansing, if you will, of the garage and the whole house. And we lived there for another 3 years with no issues, no problems, nothing.
I wonder because, and I know this is you know, whatever. I'm going to tell a story, and it's not a real long one. It's not I had a scythe that was like a handheld one, and I was playing around with that thing, and it did. I'm going to tell you, we don't know because we lived in the house. It was haunted. That sounds almost goofy now when you just say I lived in a haunted house. It sounds like some kind of spooky fun house type of thing, and it was just, it was fun. It was just fun. It was a fun. No, it wasn't a fun time. But we had this scythe that we had found out at the old farm. There is a Turner farm, and it's like we all kind of claim it, but it's technically my uncle's farm. But I go out there and just whenever, it's kind of one of those things where we're a tight knit family, and Anthony, you know that. If I needed to go out there and crash, there would be no questions asked. You know what I mean? It's like I could just go out there and go to the fridge. They have a big what do you call it? A barn.
Yeah, just like come as you are. And doesn't matter.
Yeah, and my Uncle Butch owns it, and just it's a Turner farm, and we go out there and we do whatever. And I was out there with my cousin when we were young, and I was walking and we kicked something, and we were technically on the neighbor's farm property, and probably shouldn't have been doing what we were doing. We were playing around out there, and we were kids. I think I was like 9 and he was like 5 or 6 or something like that. But anyway, we kicked something, and thank God that I didn't kick it from the other end. And he was like, "What is that?" And we picked it up, and my other little cousin was like, "It's a sword. It's a," because it had a blade on it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't really know what it was. And so it was like, it's like a sickle looking thing, And so we were playing with it. So we started throwing it, and I didn't, but my cousin managed to get it stuck into a tree. So we yanked it out.
Yeah.
And it was very sharp. And so I took it, and over the years, I messed with it, and I cleaned it off and got all the rust off of it and turned it into a pretty nice-looking piece. I still have it. But something weird happened with that thing in the house I used to live in. 3 people ended up getting cut by this thing. I was one of them. And I was moving it one day, and I was going to put it up on the wall, and it just fell off, which my brother and Scorpion, they might be in the chat. They can attest that this thing would just fall off the wall along with this other knife we had. No rhyme or reason for it. I don't know why it would do that. The one knife even looked like it would jump off the wall. We've talked about that on the show way back. This scythe, though, this old scythe, it fell one time and it cut me. Not real deep. It just, I moved my hand really quick and it just managed to give me a little cut, my hand. Still got it right there. But that was the first person that got cut by it. Then we had a roommate that lived with us for a while, and he got cut by it. And one day he had his arm up on the wall, and when he put his arm up on the wall, and he wasn't living there at the time, but he used to be somebody that lived there. And when it fell, it cut his pinky almost off, like it was like hanging, like it was. We had to take him to the hospital and get stitches, and they had to do all kinds of they made sure because it cut all the way down to the bone. It was bad. And the doctor was like, "You're lucky it didn't go right there by where the knuckle, because it probably would have just removed it." But it cut the other finger too. And then we took it down off the wall because we thought this thing is dangerous. We need to quit, whatever. And yeah, Scorps, you remember that. And so I was playing with it one day, and my brother was on the phone, and we were in his room, and Scorpion was sitting there, and my brother D was on the other side of the room, and he was on the phone with some girl, right? And Scorpion was sitting there, and we were talking. I don't even know how we were all in his room. We were just sitting there. I think we were playing a video game or something. Me and Scorp playing a video game, and because we had like different, different game systems or whatever.
Yeah, consoles.
Yeah, so we were playing that. I think it was GoldenEye actually, because D used to like to play that game. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was a cool game.
D
That's
had
a
the
classic.
N64 in there, and it was already
Yeah.
long past the N64 days. But he had one in his room, and we were all playing it. I think it was like a 4-player game or something.
Yeah.
So when this girl called, he started talking to this girl who I'm not going to say 100%, but I thought she messed with stuff back then, and my brother did too. Now, he's admitted that. He says it. He used to be into that stuff. And so I picked up that scythe because it was just laying there on the ground. I don't know why it was in the floor in his room. And my brother never could give me a good reason why or how it ended up there. He said, "I thought you just left it in here." I was like, why would I be taking that thing around and dropping it in the room? And so I was sitting there and I was like kind of messing with it. And Scorp had his legs crossed. And then Scorp moved his leg. And when I was doing this, like not hard, it's hard to explain how it happened. But like I let go just enough. And it like sunk down into his leg, and like it cut him really deep. And I pulled it up, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like it was so, like just doing the movement like this, like that speed, like just kind of playing with it. And when he moved his leg out, and which I was kind of aggravated with him for doing that because like he didn't even pay attention. But then again, I shouldn't have been playing with the darn thing. So at that point, we rushed him to the hospital, and he got stitches. I think he got, I don't know if Scorp, you're in the chat. It was like 3 or 4 stitches just on his front of his leg or whatever. It was in the it cut him deep. So 3 people have been cut by this thing. So I threw it in the closet and just forgot about it and quit messing with it. And then when we moved, we never hung it up in the new place, in their place that we moved from recently.
No.
We never hung that up.
You know, it's funny, when we were moving out, I found that thing and I was messing with it because I was like, I've never seen this. And like, you usually always have like most of your weapons on the walls, and you hang it up. It was very, going into that apartment was very cool because it was just like a arsenal, it felt like. And then that thing though. It was just sitting there, and it was
Bladed
always just
weapons
sitting
all
there.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I collect bladed weapons, and so the thing just, it was weird. I mean, it did, and then the tip doesn't look like it's sharp enough. It doesn't. I mean, you've seen it, but it went right deep, just went straight into his leg, and immediately blood started coming out. And my brother was on the phone. He was like, "Whoa!" And then we just got up, and everybody had to go to the, take him to the doctor. What did it say? I'm one that moves with the. Yeah, well, Scorp, anyway, and yeah, you had to get stitches. How many stitches did you end up getting, Scorp? He's in the chat. He's in the blue. But I don't know how many stitches you ended up getting. But I remember having to sit there with him, and I felt terrible about it. And it was an accident, but it was like, dude, we finally just threw that thing in the closet, and we're like, enough people have been cut by this thing.
Yeah.
4 stitches. That's what I thought. Yeah, because one of the twins, one of our friends, the twins, one of them got cut. Can't remember if it was Matt or Mark, but they got their finger cut. And it was pretty bad. And and I think Squid cut his hand too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was that. Either that or it was that Roman dagger, but I think it was that when we were moving. Like, he helped us move, and like he cut his hand. So maybe 4 people got cut by that same object. And of course, my cousin, I guess he would have been the first one because he was playing with it, and we were pulling it out of the tree, he cut his arm. So 5 people maybe. So I know 3 people of my roommates that
It's a
got cut.
bloodthirsty scythe.
Yeah. And so we now, I think it's in the garage. I
Yeah,
think
it's somewhere in
somewhere
there.
in there in the garage where all these other weapons are that I'm not putting them up on the wall because it's too much trouble. So I just got all my
Yeah.
swords and everything there. And I didn't mean to co-opt the conversation from you, but
No.
no, I just wanted to tell you about that. But it was something
Yeah.
that we found, and I don't know what why that thing was so, like he said, bloodthirsty, but it was.
Well-
and you hear about stuff like that.
Well, you do it. Here's the thing too. The nephews, you guys were talking about tulpas, and even with what's going on with this, do you think that if we, because I kind of do believe that we can manifest certain things. I mean, not occasionally, right? I mean, if you think about something hard enough, I think that sometimes we can manifest some of these things, like with the weapons, the getting cut.
Mhm.
You know, that we're talking about these objects in the house, and then I'm thinking about the objects in the house while I'm in the garage. Do you think that's something we as human beings have that ability? If you, because I think outside the box a lot, and I think about a lot of weird stuff all the time, right? I mean, it takes up a lot of my day, and a lot of times it seems like it comes true for some people. With people I've talked about, if they think hard enough about something, maybe not exactly what they're talking about comes to fruition, but something very odd or similar does. Do you believe in that? I mean, do you think that's a possibility with the human mind that
Yeah,
we could actually
absolutely.
create these things?
Mm-hmm. Because I think maybe like, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but I've heard somebody told me a story, and it was an Arab friend of mine. He's Arab, but he was telling me, well, he's not technically Arab, he's Berber, but he lived in Tunisia, and he was telling me about a blade that he had inherited from his grandfather, and everybody in their family had been cut by this thing. And anytime anybody moved it or did anything with it, somebody would get cut. And so I kind of thought back on that scythe, and I thought maybe, I don't know, maybe my cousin cutting himself did something to it, and then it just kind of, maybe it's stuck in our heads or something. I don't know how that works. I've pondered that before, because by all rights, it should not have cut Scorp that deep. I call him Scorp, but Scorpion that deep. It should not have penetrated his leg like that. It was just so bizarre. It was like when it touched his leg, it sunk itself in. Like it was weird. Like it got heavy all of a sudden. I don't know how to say it. And Scorp said he felt it too. Like there was like a pressure or whatever. But then again, that room had weird stuff happen. And one of the guys who got cut by it actually slept in that room one night. They're from upstate New York. They're good friends of ours. And he said that he thought that he heard something scratching on the walls at night. He thought it was like a chicken. And he kept saying, is there a chicken in one of the other rooms? And I'm like, no. But when he said that, I mean, we all kind of looked at each other because we knew that particular, room was haunted. I mean, that was one of the haunted rooms. Every room had its own weird energy. That room in particular would scare the crap out of people. I only slept in that room a couple times, and that was because at one point they were doing some stuff in my bedroom, and I had to sleep in that room, and that was because we had moved something, and we ended up like messing something up on my bed. And so I had to sleep in the other room for like, I think 3 days or something, or share that room. And I remember sleeping in there one time and thinking that something grabbed my foot. And I
Mhm.
thought it was my brother. And when I sat up, he was sleeping the opposite way on another mattress. And so I had taken my mattress in there and laid it down. It was big enough to have two, mattresses, whatever. And I don't remember what it was that happened to my bed or something. I had to pull the mattress out because the box spring or something had broken and something happened. But anyway, I just remember 2 days of having to sleep in there and thinking that my brother was grabbing my foot. And I was like, what the heck? And I woke up, and then it happened again like the next night. So that room had weird stuff happen. And then there was this picture, this Frazetta picture that we had hanging on the wall. And I know when one of the guys that was on the show, Chief, when he rented the room from us in that room, and my brother had switched rooms. And then I think Willie at that time was couch surfing. It was literally like the club flop house because I ran a nightclub. And the bouncers and bartenders would just come and stay there. Sometimes people would be like, hey, I've gotten in a fight with my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and guy or girl, whatever. They'd sleep on the couch or whatever. You never knew who was there. I'd come home and be like, oh, you're sleeping here too? Cool, whatever. And it was literally like the house for wayward people, like whatever. If you needed a place to crash, I didn't care. Go ahead. And, there were people coming and going all the time. As long as they didn't steal anything or tear anything up, I didn't care. And really, it didn't really happen much. We had a big, nice aquarium. A bunch of weird stuff happened to my fish. Sometimes it would look like a tornado in there, and the fish would be moving everywhere. So many weird things happened. So I didn't really pinpoint that it was that particular knife, but maybe the energy in that place set that thing off to do something, and drew upon something. There could have been something, some sort of spiritual energy already attached to it. And the energy in that house gave it some kind of life. You know what I mean? Something to do what it did. And I know that Frazetta picture, that was a werewolf and a vampire or whatever that Frazetta drew. It's like Dracula meets the Wolfman or something picture, like the Wolfman standing over him. I have it's a T-shirt I have now too. But that particular picture would go flying off the wall, and it would always land face down, like it didn't like that picture for whatever. I don't know what was in there. And so that didn't surprise me, but then things would fall off the wall at times. There was weird stuff that would happen. I mean, people come over, they see stuff in the mirror, and we had a big antique mirror in the middle of the freaking the hallway. It was so creepy too, because you walk out of one of the bedrooms and straight down the hallway at the end is this creepy antique mirror. And we tried to remove it, but it would have tore up everything if we did. And we rented that place, so it wasn't ours. So we asked the landlord, and he was a pretty cool guy, actually, but he was just like, well, we can try. And when he went and tried to look at it, I showed it to him. He was like, yeah, there's no way to do it without moving, tearing a bunch of stuff up. So we just left it there. And I was just kind of like, I was kind of the opinion that maybe that was the beginning of it all. Like, that's what started the whole thing, was that damn mirror. But I don't know 100% if that was the case, because I wondered about that many times. Like, people would see stuff in that mirror, and then we would see something moving in and out and jumping in and out of it in that house, and it was just a mess.
Wow.
But yeah.
And geez, this kind of reminds me about something too, about energy and energy from the past or left behind or whatever, however you want to phrase it. And and since it is kind of Halloween, excuse me, this is a true story that occurred with me. I owned a bar for 13 years, right? Now, the first 15, 20 years, I worked at Ford Motor Company when I was married and saved money and stuff like that. And so one day I out of the blue told my wife, hey, listen, I'm buying a bar. I'm going in the bar business. She goes, well, it's the first I've ever heard of this. Yeah, well, it's kind of a thing I've always wanted to do. So she's like, okay, well, whatever. You're gonna quit your job, eh? I'm like, yeah. She goes, okay, how much money you got saved? I go, enough. Okay. So bought the bar. I've owned it for 13 years, oddly enough, 13 years. I sold it on my 13th year. In fact, I sold the bar Thanksgiving, November 20th, which is kind of wild because I lucked out. I don't know if I was luck or premonition, but 3 months later is when, COVID hit very hard. And so all the bars and businesses, restaurants where I live, 3,500 of them, man, they went belly up. Suppliers, it was just a nightmare time. And I got out, fortunately, I guess, at the right time. Felt bad for the dude I sold it to, but, that's life happens, right? So throughout the 13 years, the first 3 years owning this bar, it was a mess. It was a rough house bar, a lot of bikers in there. I got it for very cheap because it was not profitable, but I loved the property. I loved the location. I went to business school at University of Michigan, and I just knew I studied all this stuff in school. And location, location. I said, look, this location is beautiful. It's just that the clientele and the way they run is not very good. Now, of course, I'm a cocky kid and knew nothing about the bar business. Never owned a bar. I worked as a manager at Ford's, right? So I'm like, you know what? I wanted to do this. I'm doing it. First 3 years made $0. In fact, it got so bad, Josh, and everyone listening, that I ended up getting divorced because I ended up living in my mom and dad's basement for 3 years. And I proudly say that
Wow.
today because, yeah, I got divorced and blah, that kind of blows, but it was my passion. I wanted to do this. Fourth year, finally start turning things around. We cleaned it up, put some money into it, it's really cool. It's really good looking, good place. I I had found out that this location, this property, and this building was built out throughout the years, but during the Prohibition era, it was a bootlegging establishment and a speakeasy. So it was a place, obviously, where everyone went for their illegal consumption of alcohol or what have you. So I just have to throw that in there because it kind of resonates as it's a part of the story. So throughout the years, I had a pretty good staff. I had my manager work with me for as long as I worked there. My one cook and three waitresses were with me about 5 years. The other guy's 13 years, and then I had, your transient turnover with people with kids going to school, want a part-time job for the summer and such. Fine, but I had a core of 4 or 5 people with me for my entire ownership, which was fabulous, which helped me out because I turned into a nice profitable business. But with this place, it was always odd because we would clean this place up at night, take all the beer bottles off the bar counter. We would take them off the tables. And for whatever reason, the next morning when we would come into work, the employees would say, Rob, hey, don't write me up or anything if you've seen the bar today. But there was all these bottles left around the bar area. And and they know they cleaned it up, and I know they cleaned it up. And things in the kitchen you would hear at night because we would close, 2 in the morning, got to close. So we're there till about 3 in the morning. Usually the manager would do the book work at 3 in the morning, or maybe the head waitress or head bartender would do the book work. And they would always, throughout, sometimes, not all the time, but glasses would fall out of the shelving. They would smash, plates would smash. Sometimes the grill or the stove was turned on. And all these things was always shut down. I mean, I ran it pretty good and I had good employees, so everything was always clean. Things were shut off. But these would occasionally always happen. If this is throughout the entire time I own this place, just these little things that you don't think about. And I thought it was strange. I thought maybe there's some little haunting going on because now I'm in my 40s and I'm going back on my experiences with the wife, going on my experiences as a child. Okay. So I was like, wow, maybe we got something going on. And I had cameras in there, and I'd always look at the videotape at night, and you would never see anything out of the ordinary. You would always see a clean table or a clean bar, but we'd come in the morning and there these bottles would be. Very strange. But Blake, again, you're busy. I was working 10 in the morning till sometimes three at night, 3 in the morning. It just depended on the schedule and if people called in, called off, and so on and so forth. So gotta do what you gotta do. So and all these employees that have been with me knew that there was freaky things going on. Okay. So one night, and this is close to before I sold it. It was before Thanksgiving. It was probably maybe September of 2020. In November I sold it. Okay, so that's the time. I'm in the basement. I'm in the basement. The office was in the basement, and in the basement, I had it set up to do all my bookkeeping, the book work, inventory, everything's on the computer. So, and I also even set up a bedroom for people that if they wanted to crash because they had a long drive home, or maybe I allowed some of the employees to drink at the end of the day with some of the guests or the customers. And if they had too much, I said, look, spend the night, and that's okay. So we had that set up. So it was kind of cool. But the basement of the bar though was pretty creepy. I didn't do anything to make it look nice. It was just a place to do book work and crash. So one night I'm down in the bar, about the basement, doing book work, and you go down these creaky stairs, all this good stuff, right? Wooden stairs, but I'm sitting down there and I hear like talking or communication or some sort of gibberish. I can't make it out, right? So I'm like, I go up the stairs and I yell hello. I yell out a couple of the employees' names that maybe they were still there. I get up to the top of the stairs and now the voices they fade away. So I do a clean run about the bar. Bar table counter cleaned off, tables cleaned off, front door, back door locked. Went in the bathroom because every once in a while somebody passes out in the bathroom, right? So nobody in there. Everything's clean. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Go back down to do my book work, getting ready to close up, and I hear these voices again coming from upstairs. So I'm walking up the stairs, and right at the top of the stairs where it levels off, I can see straight ahead to the bar. And in one section, I had two bars within the bar, and one was a square, one was a long bar top. At the square bar at the far corner to my right, I have to stop and I'm looking, and I see what appears to be four apparitions. Okay. Translucent. I can see directly through them to the other side of the bar, to the other wall on the far side. And I'm shaking. Putting my rubbing my eyes. It's 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning now. I'm like, Rob, what are you looking at here? And I see these things. I'm not scared. I venture a little closer and I look at these apparitions. And there was two men and two women at the corner. Okay. They were dressed like back in the days of Prohibition. Kind of two women reminded me of like flappers. Kind of appeared to have those shrilly short little
Mm-hmm.
dresses.
Yeah.
On the right side, there was two dudes, apparition-looking dudes that looked like John Dillinger. They had the pinstripe suit on with the top hat, right?
And just to
Fedora.
confirm, you're not saying that was John Dillinger. You're saying that looked like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
John
Dillinger
Dillinger.
type looking
Yeah,
people.
because
Yeah,
somebody's going to go, that was the guy who said John
yeah,
Dillinger was on the show.
yeah. He
The
saw
guy's
John
dumb.
Dillinger. Yeah, the ghost.
Yeah, they're gonna cut it up and take it out of
Take
context.
it out of
Yeah.
context and make
Oh
it
my
into-
God, this guy's claiming he saw the ghost of John Dillinger. No, it
breaking
wasn't. It was
news.
It had that type of apparel that he would wear, or any gangster for that era, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm looking at this. I'm like, what am I seeing here? And the thing that really, and again, I'm not really scared because my past experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I already seen Bigfoot at this time, or the alleged Bigfoot. I call it the demon, or whatever. It's 2020. My encounter was 2018. So I'm kind of building up like a stamina for this, right? So, so I'm looking at him, and I'm getting closer. And now I get to the left. I go to the opposite end of the bar rail, and I'm looking at them, and they're just kibitzing, minding their business, ignoring me. They're just doing their thing. And what was really strange about this whole thing is there was a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey on the table, on the bar top, in front of the two guys with two shot glasses, and in front of the women was a wine bottle with two wine glasses. And I'm peering in, and I can see remnants of wine in these glasses. And it appears that the shot glasses are like have whiskey in them. And I'm like, what is going on? So I yell out, I go, hey. not robustly, but I just say, "Hey," and they ignore me. They're going about their business. So I get a little more, how should I say, I don't be say robust, but I'm like really inquisitive, and I'm kind of want them to recognize me. So I take my left fist and I kind of hit the top of the bar counter at the end where I'm at, opposite them. And now the kibitzing, the little, because I couldn't, the muffled voices that they were talking or whatever, they stop, and the two men apparitions, they look at me. They turn their head, Josh. They look, and I'm like, okay, and I'm just looking, and I'm just like, wow. And I know I got my video camera on. I'm like, I gotta. Oh, this is awesome. So all of a sudden, man, the shot glass that is laying on the countertop, the bar top, it elevates. It raises up. It raises up from the top of the bar, almost as though there was one of the dudes had like his apparition hand wrapped around it. But they're see through. They're not physical. They're transparent. But this glass is suspended. It's only about 12 inches up in the suspended air. I said, what am I seeing here? Now I'm thinking in my head, are my people here just playing some cool elaborate game? Then all of a sudden, the shot glass slips from the transparent fingers. It hits the top of the bar and it shatters. Now, the thing that's strange about this is you can't shatter a bar shot glass from
Yeah, not
12
from
feet in the
12
air.
inches
Mm-mm.
in the
No,
air.
man, they're thick. You could take it and throw it. You might get a chip. You really got to put some force behind this. It shatters. And the two ghostly men, they're still looking at me. Then then they slowly start to fade away and morph. But here's the thing about this, which was kind of creepy, is they morphed into they appeared to get older. The young, because I didn't mention they were kind of young. They were younger looking people again, but they started to look older, older, and older, and morphed until they faded away. They almost faded like they had almost to the skull, the skeleton, but not quite that elaborate, and they faded away. Now I'm kind of scared. I must admit. So I'm like, I got to go down here. I go down to the end of the bar. I said, this can't be happening. So I go down, and the shattered glass is there. I put my finger in the whiskey. It's whiskey, and there's wine remnants in in the wine glasses, and the wine bottle is sitting there. And so I'm like, no, this got pulled off the shelf because I could tell that this bottle was just freshly opened because the label, you know how there's a label on any bottle of liquor, how it gets tore. It was tore, and I looked back in the inventory in the back of the bar, and it was taken from a spot where I know I had put it up, so I know it was moved there. As far as the wine goes, I don't quite remember. So that was moved. So I'm like, yes, something. I don't know what to make of that. And there was something was here, some apparition. So I go back, I run downstairs, and I pull up the video. And on the video, and I can zoom in right to this exact spot. And there's not the ghosts are not on the video, but you know what's there though. And I didn't see how it got there either. It was the bottle, the physical objects. I'm like, man, that is super creepy. So I didn't spend the night that night. I went home. It was like almost 4 in the morning by this point, and I just got in my vehicle. I drove home, but I went back to work like 3 hours later to tell the a manager who was going to be there to open up early. I said, "Yeah, you guys, about talking about how this place we think is kind of maybe haunted or creepy. I got to tell you what I saw." Told him the story. Yeah, Rob, I believe it. He goes, "I've never seen nothing like that, but man, there's creepy stuff going on." So after going through all this and telling you that then this is when I started researching about the bar because I never knew about the how long this place was there, this building, and so I'm thinking that these were probably spirits from back in that era, and it's just that I happened to catch a glimpse of them, and that that story there, that experience that I had, it might even trump the Bigfoot one because the Bigfoot one for me was terrible. This for me was kind of cool and scary all at the same time. And then I sold the bar like 2 months later. It had been up for sale. I didn't disclose that to the people that bought it, and it didn't really matter because unfortunately they went out of business when we got hit with that BS, you know, um, COVID. So yeah.
Yeah, and the bar business, like, dude, I've been in so many bars and so many clubs that are haunted. It's not even funny. I mean, I think that and hotels and probably just the two.
Yeah.
I would say those are the two most haunted. I don't know, unless anybody's got any other suggestions. Well, a morgue, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a friend that was a DJ, and he worked in a mortuary for like 5 years. Go ahead.
But bars in particular, I think, are pretty. I mean, like it would make sense that bars are like common places where paranormal phenomena will occur because, I mean, like when people go in the bars, some people they'll go in there to self medicate. I mean, we're all only human. I'm not innocent of that either. And there's like a lot of emotional energy that's going to be present in a bar on a pretty consistent level. So I think that anywhere there's like strong or exaggerated emotions that are consistently present, like any space where that's a thing, is going to attract like spirits or paranormal phenomena. I mean, like I said, what I believe is that these things are kind of opportunistic and they just kind of go where they'll be able to manifest, or it's kind of like being a surfer, like out on the ocean. You're gonna go to where the waves are at. You don't get to decide where they're at. You just have you find them and then you ride them, and maybe it's the same way on the other side. I mean that's why like bars and like Tony said, morgues especially, and they're going to be full of emotional energy, and hotels are just places that are going to bring in people from all walks of life from all over the world. So I mean those three places, it makes sense to me.
You know, yeah, I agree with that. And I was also thinking too, do you guys think that these were just customers from way back when and they've never gone on to the other side?
I think it was John Dillinger. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, well,
Case closed.
Casey, it was him and Al Capone, and
well,
now
it
we're gonna.
probably was. It probably was because he was a successful bank robber for a while until, well, it all comes to an end for people that do stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you had to ask me, I would say yeah, it was probably, or they might have been somebody who owned it previously. Did you ever look into the history of it?
Well, I looked into the history and found out about the. Obviously, I knew about it was during Prohibition time. Yeah, the guy that owned it. I mean, I looked at. I had, in fact, called the guy. I said, obviously, I didn't tell him that story, but I asked him if he had come across any weird happenings, and again, of course, the guy. If you got to remember, as I stated earlier in the story, that it was just a biker club. It was a lot of fighting going on, a lot of just riffraff. It was just a tough club where if you walked in there, if you didn't look the right way, you got beat up. So it was a tough bar. I talked to the guy. Anything strange happened? He goes, yeah, every night there's something strange going on. So it was kind
Huh.
of,
Sound like our bar.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I didn't. But then I just started looking up other things, and it's funny though that these things, like the nephews were saying, man, they in hotels, bars, restaurants. There's a place, Mission Point, in the Upper Peninsula, Traverse City, that claims to be a haunted bar, and a lot of times, I went there once. I did not experience anything. Where yeah, we're customers of the restaurant would see strange things in the bathroom. So I believe all this stuff, and obviously I've seen something. So again, referring back to all of these people I've spoken with and why I do this stuff today is because a lot of these stories have to be heard because people think it's make believe, but I got to tell you what, from firsthand experience, things happen. Doesn't happen to everybody, but it happens to a handful. It happens to a lot of the people that we speak to on a daily basis, right?
I think it's odd too that there's a lot of people who've seen Bigfoot who've also seen ghosts. and oftentimes in the same area where they've seen a Bigfoot, you know, and then so sometimes you'll talk to somebody and they'll tell you that they saw a Bigfoot or a Dogman or some kind of creature, and then when you go further down into the rabbit hole with them, then they'll tell you, yeah, I saw a ghost too. Yeah, and they'll tell you about that, so you'll get a 2 for 1, you know. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much like been my experience. Like whenever I talk to somebody who's seen like one of these cryptid type creatures, most of the time they've seen a ghost too at some point, or they've had UFOs. They've seen UFOs, and then people want to tell me that it's not connected. Come on. I mean, I think it is. I mean, there's a reason why they're seeing this stuff in the same places or same areas. You know, what is that with you? You know, you get stories too. What is it? How do you feel about that?
I view everything as connected in some way, whether it's cryptid, UFO, paranormal. I think they all come together, and that's the thing that I'm always trying to figure out with guests, and because you always hear the same stories. There's a couple in the book about, you have the orbs. There's an orb, a guy sees a Bigfoot, or he sees a Bigfoot manifest out of a tree. I happen to believe that trees are in a lot of these forests are portals or entrance and exit platforms for a lot of these things. Because again, I think that a lot of these creatures are flesh and blood, but I think there's something ethereal about them. I think that they can travel dimensionally, different planes. A long time ago, I had Ron Moorhead on the show, and he said, Rob, 30 years ago, if you would have brought up the woo woo or the alien subject, I'd have said, young man, turn around when you get older and we can talk. Then his entire opinion has changed, and he wrote that book, The Quantum Bigfoot, right? And it's about mass converting to energy. Now he believes that's how a lot of these cryptids or Bigfoot, which is what he um, follows, researches, move about. And he has totally taken a 180-degree turn. Now he thinks they're more of a. He even goes as far as saying during the show that he thinks they're some of them are of alien nature. So again, I believe in all that. Can't pinpoint it to one thing because I will tell you this: what I saw in 2018, if I had a gun, I probably could have shot it, and it probably would have bled. However, when he did that metamorphosis, it still was solid, right, and
Hmm.
physical, but the distorted figure that I seen when everything went dull questions if it was even flesh and blood. So I battle that all the time. So when I have people on or I talk to people, I do try to get out of them what they think it is, but it always reverts back to the same thing. And I'm not getting into the aper camp that you can throw that out the window. Don't believe it. But I think
Yeah.
physical, a human hybrid, perhaps. But there's always you talk to First Nations.
Oh
They're
yeah.
for majority of them, they're a spiritual protector of the woods, right? It's not physical, yet it's not human. So again, I have no answers for this. That's why it's always open for debate, and everyone has their theories. No experts, and again, that's why I enjoy doing what I'm doing today, writing the book and just talking to people because I find it fascinating. I really do. And a guy, and I have one question to ask you guys. A guy told me that perhaps I was marked because I had an encounter. He said, "You're gonna open yourself up to a lot more encounters." Well, I haven't seen anything since 2018, and I've seen ghosts prior to my encounter, and I've seen them after. So I don't know if that theory shakes too well. But I've talked to people that after they've had an encounter, they've seen multiple entities, multiple physical beings that they can't put their finger on. So I guess there's something to that. As far as being marked, that seems kind of demonic, if you ask me.
Yeah, actually, Tony had a pretty interesting theory about that. That rather than being marked specifically, that maybe once we have an encounter with something like for the first time, that um, okay, like you know how whenever we get sick, right? Like with a common cold or something, we have antibodies that will like retain kind of like a memory of that, and the next time they encounter that, the antibodies will respond to it. So it's like the body remembers things that it encounters. So what if it works that way in the spiritual realm too? That like whenever we encounter something for the first time on a spiritual level, we're kind of a little bit more open to similar phenomena, so that the next time it happens, we're able to see it a little bit more. We're a little bit more open to it, and it's. I mean, like I call them like this spiritual antibodies or whatever, but like I think that makes sense. It's like the more you're exposed to it, the more you're able to perceive it over time. More and more.
Yep. I believe that too. And I also believe the more you look into these things, whether you research them, talk to people every day, look it up, go in the field, do investigations. I think the more that you do that, the more you are open, because I think your mind is open. And a lot of these beings of the forest or even paranormal, if you're open minded, they tend to you can get their attraction or their attention, I should say. I firmly believe in that. And I also know it has a lot to do with your intent, because I know I've talked to people that have been actively looking for Bigfoot, okay, for 10, 15, 20 years. Never seen not a one. They might have seen some tracks, casted a track, maybe heard a whoop, but never seen one. Now I often wonder, and I've talked to a couple people that do this. I mean, they religiously are in the woods. Then I reflect back on what is people's intentions. Are these people? I mean, what's in it for them, right? And I think a lot of these creatures can pick up on your intent. You might have a person that goes camping for the very first time in the woods, knows nothing of Bigfoot, could care less about Bigfoot, and all of a sudden one runs through their camp, right? And they see
Hmm.
it. Or you have the person, the typical, we've all heard this a million times, if not 1,000 times, Bigfoot crossing the road, an average Joe Blow driving his car. Yet a researcher, 20 years, has never seen not a one. I often wonder about those people, because to me, you should have seen one by now. I mean, that's just my thought on that. It could be, it could be something, it could be nothing. But
Yeah,
it makes me wonder.
yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence that most people who have seen a Sasquatch or any of these unexplainable cryptids are not people who are going out of their way to look for them, and most people who go out of their way to look for them have not seen them. So I think that there is something to that. What it is, I don't know, but I believe, like you believe, that there is something there. There's something to that. It's not nothing. It's not a coincidence.
Oh, I agree, absolutely.
Well, I was going to say something. I don't know. The camera's been off me for a while, so I didn't know if you were gonna say something but so. Anyways, one of the questions that was posed in the chat, and this is kind of an off, but still, we're on this topic of weird stuff, and I want your opinion while you're on the show.
Sure.
Somebody asked, I think it was Wayne Kotzer, says, to anyone, is the staircase in the woods an actual reported phenomena, or is that just solely creepypasta? I don't have any of those stories, so I'm at a loss for that. What do you think about that? Have you heard anything like that, Rob?
I've heard of the creepy staircase in the middle of the forest. I've never spoke with I've never physically or contacted anybody on it, only from what I've read, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never come across it. I know what he's talking about, but no, I mean, all the things that I've read or heard on television or video is some sort of portal or something. And again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even want to speak on it because I don't have info on that. I haven't talked to anybody. From what I've read or heard, it's not supposed to be um something you should do. Go. I've heard stories of people going up the ladder and disappearing, like it's a portal, and boom, they vanish. How true is that? I don't know. That's what I've heard, and that's probably the gist of it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that because I don't think I've heard anything like that. Not nobody. I don't know. Have we gotten stories like that? I don't. I'd have to look and see if we have any.
Not that I know of.
But I mean, if Rob, you don't know. I don't. I don't know either. So
Yeah, I mean, again, I've heard similar, but never talked to anybody personally. Other than, but isn't that something though? I mean, wouldn't that be something? If you came up, you're in the woods, and you see a staircase in the middle of the woods, and it's not connected to
yeah.
a former structure or building. I would find that odd.
hmm
I don't think I would go up it.
And as far as being in Michigan now, have you gotten any Dogman reports up there? Like
Oh yeah,
to talk
yeah.
about?
Well, yeah. What they say is, Wexford, Michigan, which by the way, it's Wexford County is what they call here in Michigan our Dogman capital. And it's funny because about in Cadillac, Michigan is also in Wexford County. So it's pretty vast county. So plenty of sightings with both Bigfoot and Dogman. There was I heard this story. I had a guy on, or it might have been in the book. I can't recall. I've been doing this for a couple of years, but the guy was telling me in Wexford County. This was in Owasso, Michigan, where he had an alleged a big or a Dogman encounter. And I'm trying to let me get my bearings together on this because it was okay. I'm trying to he purchased this property in Owasso, Michigan, some back in the fall time, and he had this trail that started out from his land and it connected through a thoroughfare through a conservatory that was in Wexford County or Owasso, Michigan, and 50 yards in front of him, he was walking the trail and he was telling me he saw something kind of materialize out of him, like out of the fog. And he says it was like a four-legged animal. And he says, wow, he thought it was a wolf. But here's the thing about Owasso and even my state, there are no wolves in lower Michigan. Most of them are reported over the bridge in the Upper Peninsula. If you get a wolf sighting, it's very in lower Michigan, it's very scant. It's something that it doesn't naturally occur. But he told me he saw it kind of physically materialize out of the fog. It was on four legs, and it kind of walked at him. But he said it was unusually big, and it stopped and it kind of stared at him. And then he's thinking to himself, "Well, man, this can't be a wolf because number one, it's really too big, and it was just odd, especially the location of Owasso." And then he says, as the wolf, I remember him telling me, like when the wolf approached him, that from the four legs it went up and it was bipedal and it kind of walked up to him. He says about 7 foot tall. Then all of a sudden it dropped down and turned around and ran back in the woods. That's something from Owasso, Michigan. But I do have to tell you this. I've had a couple similar to that. They always seem to be appearing, right? Or they seem to be flanking you from the wood line, from the reports I get. But here's something that is really, really crazy. And this takes place in in fact, this is I talked to this guy several times, and it's about a man in 1979. He bought a house in Groseal, Michigan, which is like 20 minutes from me. Okay, it's an island chain. He bought the house in 79, as I mentioned, and in 1981, he hears these howls start emanating from his property. He heard them also, excuse me, inside his house and outside his house. He goes, why am I hearing these inside the house? So again, this again, Groseal, again, another one of these older houses. And again, I'm going to refer back to Prohibition days. I looked this up and he, in fact, told me these things. Here's these howls and he tracks the source to his basement. And in his basement, now this guy's a rich guy. It's a big, sprawling house, very successful man. He has a wine cellar. He goes into the wine cellar where he now hears these howls a little louder. They're coming through, reverberating through the walls of this cellar. He's like, what in the heck? He's down there with his wife, and then the sounds go away. So he says, "Man, we gotta check this cellar out in the morning." So next day he's out, and and this is summertime, and he had a beachfront overlooking the freighters come down the Detroit River, and his house sits on a hill, okay? And his beachfront property sits at the base of the hill, and hears these howls again, okay? He hears these howls, and they're coming from inside this hill on the house, excuse me, on this hill where the house sat. So he's going up this hill, walking around, and he's thinking, man, this hill is haunted with something. This is not right. These howls are coming from this land, this dirt, this hill. Immediately he goes back into the house. He goes into the cellar, the wine cellar, but there's no sound there. So now he picks up a end of a broomstick. He goes, I don't know why I did this, Rob. I pick up this broomstick and I start hitting the walls with the end of the broomstick. On the left side, there's a wine rack with a bunch of wine. On the right side, there's a wine rack with a bunch of wine. And on the far back wall, there's another wine rack. Finally gets to the back of the wine rack on the back wall. He's hitting it with the end of the broomstick. Now it rings hollow. Okay. He's up. There's something going on here. So his wife thinks he's crazy as he starts tearing down the wine rack, getting it out of there. And he starts tapping harder on the back wall, which he now cleared of the wine rack and the wine. Rings hollow. Then he takes a hammer and he just puts it through the wall, and it goes right through. He tears down this wall, and there's a tunnel. Okay. He says the tunnel, he had to squat down. It was maybe only 4 foot high, by maybe 3.5, 4 foot wide. Now he gets down on his hands and knees, out, whatever, however he got in there, and he starts going down this tunnel. And then he yells back to his wife, "Come on, come on." She's like, "You're crazy. I'm not going in there." And she can't believe that they got this hole in their wall now that he tore down. There's a tunnel. So the tunnel got a little bit bigger where they could get up on their 2 feet and walk down this tunnel. And they're walking this tunnel. They're kind of hunched over, and they're walking and just walking. And all of a sudden, it starts getting a little bit musty, again, dank. And they said, and the man says in the email, I got this as an email from this guy that lives out here, said he saw these oversized dog tracks, dog prints. So he's foraging forward, and then now he starts to run out of breath. He starts to pant a little bit, and he realizes, and the walls are getting kind of murky, and he realizes, Josh and them, that he's like, this tunnel's now going under the Detroit River. So long story short, this guy turns around, he gets back out, goes online, goes to the library, whatever he does, and he does some research, and sure, just kind of like my bar, Grozeal, throughout the entire island of Grozeal, that was a big prohibition run, and there were a lot of tunnels that were created to run bootlegging of booze from Detroit to Canada. He goes, okay, well, we got something going on here. So, but he was still intrigued. What is that sound? What are these howls? What are these prints in this tunnel? So one night he's sitting outside again with his wife, and in front of him where he lives, there's a chain of islands. There's a chain of islands out there. And then when you line up the tunnel, so he went back, I guess he's an engineer or whatever, but this tunnel kind of it pointed, the trail of the tunnel led directly in front of this island. He goes, "Hey honey, let's go check out that island in the morning and investigate this, because I don't know what's up with these howls." So him and the wife, yeah, they're well off. They've got whatever, they're professionals. They take out like a 36-foot Sea Ray boat, and they proceed to this island that's out in the distance. Now me personally, I am familiar with Grozeal and all these island chains. There's Grassy Island, Fox Island. There's a bunch of them, and a lot of them people don't hang out at because they're hard to get to. Okay, there's no sandy beaches. There's one called Sugar Island, which people went to go to and boat and doctor boats and such. But a lot of these other ones, when you get to them, it gets very shallow and very rocky. So they approached this one island. It's very rocky. So they had a little 8 foot, 9 foot boat on the back of their 32-foot boat or whatever it was, 36, 37. They put it in the water and they go to this island and they take off on the island and they get on the island. He gets on the island and very difficult to get on. A lot of brush. He gets up. He sets the boat up on land. It is very overgrown. It's full of vines, trees, whatever, brush. He starts cutting through. He happened to bring a machete or whatever. He's cutting through it. Then they come to this opening of this trail. They get up to this trail, and then they see a skull of a deer. And he's thinking, and he looks at it, and he's a hunter. He's very familiar with skulls of animals and of deer. And he's thinking to his and says loud to his wife, "What is a deer doing on this island?" Thinking back, how would he get there? Now, apparently, I didn't know this until I was doing some research on this. I guess a deer can swim. And if you look at these chains of islands, there's a bunch of, small little wood lines and forests around there. But never knew Groseal to have any deer. But anyway, he thought that was odd. So he's continuing on down this trail. Then he comes across some tracks of more deer. Then he sees these dog impressions, and he gets to a wood line, and hears a howl, much like the howls that he heard from his house, from inside the tunnel, from inside the hill that he would hear from across the river to these islands. So he hears a howl. Him and the wife are scared, and they're standing there, and all of a sudden he sees these two. He says wolves come out from the tree line on this island toward them. He had like red eyes. Now, of course, this is daytime, but he says with the expansiveness, with the depth of the trees and all the foliage, it was kind of shadowy. And they come out, and he says one came out on all fours and got up on 2 feet, looked at him, and he says this is the oddest thing that it says he thinks you don't know if he made this up in his head, if he was imagining things, and it said he got this telecommunications thing to turn around, don't come back. Guy does just that, turns around, leaves, gets on his raft, or not his raft, his smaller boat. It was like a rafty boat with an engine or a motor. Takes it back to his 32-footer, turns around, goes home. And so he's asking me to see him. I talked to him on the phone several times. He says, "Hey, what do you think that was?" I said, "Well, I don't know." And then he does a follow-up story. He's gone back. This is in the book. I'm not going to get into it because it's quite a long tale. But that was another encounter. This guy saw something. It was very intriguing how the trail, there was tracks underneath this. I don't know how much of this I can actually, I don't want to say the word believe, but to me, a trail that went from underneath all the way to that island, I don't think happened. But there was definitely um, oh, not a trail, a tunnel, excuse me, in the house, because a lot of these houses in Groseal do have these tunnels for the Prohibition era. So yeah, I found that to be very interesting on that. In fact, I like to go back there in the summer and kind of go check that out with a buddy of mine that does have a boat. So we're going to do a little investigating here coming up in the summertime. So that was pretty intriguing. But as far as the rest of the state of Michigan, I get the typical, you know, four-legged beast, got up, walked, turned around, and took off. And they always end the story with they felt it was something sinister or something not quite right. We got a bad feeling about it. So,
Well, and that flies in the face of people who want to think that this is some sort of physical, flesh and blood, evolutionarily made creature. I don't believe that. When I wrote my book about the werewolves and the Dogman phenomena, it's, Ken and Barton. Well, I would say Ken, Barton, Nick, Lyle, David. They all kind of like gave me advice. I talked to Sibylla Irwin, a bunch of different people,
yeah,
about these different things, and we all kind of came up with the same conclusion that none of us believe that this thing is a fully flesh and blood creature. I just don't. I mean, there's too many things, and they can manifest as physical, but that doesn't mean that they are. The one that I saw when I was 15 didn't it looked physical, but then my friend's brother told me, was it in December 2019? And Anthony, you were there.
Yeah.
And he said it had black vapor coming off its back of its neck. And I'm like, you never told me that. He's like, you never asked. I never did until 2019. That's a long time. That was 29 years. But, you know, this Halloween will be the anniversary. And let's see, what is it? From 1990 to 2023.
Yep.
What is that?
It's 33
years. 33 years ago. But I remember like it was yesterday. It was a very simple thing. My story hasn't changed. There's people that tried to go on there and write a review of my book. I know who it was. It was this guy that's been messing with us. He wrote that review and said, your story changed multiple times. No, it hasn't. No, it has not. And I haven't changed it. And everything that they say is just so, it's like, you know, you're rubber, I'm glue. What is it? I'm rubber, you're glue, bounce. You know,
I know you are, but what am I?
You know you are, but what am I? It's such a bunch of little, you know, whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The stories are the stories. They don't change. And I've interviewed countless people about these creatures, and you know, like one of the stories that we were talking about earlier, we didn't get into it, but it's about the Bear King over there in outside of Marble Falls, and we were really close to the spot, you know, where that supposedly happened. We were out there last night, and we were doing little boots on the ground, you know, and everybody likes to throw that word around, but it's not. They don't really do it. They just go hang out somewhere where they, you know, they're whatever. But yeah, I was thinking about it, and the thought crossed my mind, you know, because the stories that we got of the Bigfoot out there seem to be very flesh and blood. But there's a third one that we didn't talk about, and now it didn't happen at that same site. Those two happened that I know of at that same site. There's another one that was not far from there, about a mile. I'd say probably, closer to 2 miles. I would be east of there, and we were given a report about a guy who saw one through a scope when he was deer hunting, and when he looked at it, it didn't have any lower body. And then his friend looked at it through his scope, and he was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "This thing doesn't have a lower body. It's just an upper body of a Sasquatch type creature, and it's moving." Now, some people might try to say that that is some sort of cloaking, and that the lower body was being cloaked or whatever, but typically, when you get stories like that, I mean, like you'll see the whole thing will start to, you'll kind of make it out, you know what I mean? And so I wondered about that, and I thought, you know what? I mean, you can't say that right there is some sort of spiritual thing, but then the other two sightings that were 2 miles away, you know, oh, well, that's, you know, those are physical, you know, why would they be right there by each other? It doesn't make any sense. And, you know, and when dealing with this stuff, it can give you a headache trying to decipher what the heck is going on. You know, it is weird. And then you get, you know, places where you got ghosts, and then you have Bigfoot, and you have Dogman, and you have all kinds of weird stuff that goes on. That area, we've gotten about half a dozen UFO reports out of that area. You know, I mean, I don't have any abduction stories, not yet anyway. I mean, but we get UFO reports. People, like one guy was out there camping at that exact spot, and he saw something zigzagging across the sky, and then it was gone. And that was actually Spence's friend, the guy that I know we know Spence. I mean, he's somebody we know, but like his girlfriend tells a weird story. Like he was, you know, the boys that he had, they're now grown men or whatever, but the woman he had him with, she passed away, but he got remarried. Well, not remarried, but they're living together, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. I don't know if they're married, but they're together. And she, like her brothers saw the UFOs, like out there, like, you know, and so, you know, you got all these weird things that happen. They always happen in these same, you know, in these areas. It's not a coincidence to me. I just can't buy into that. People want you to believe that that's not the nature of reality. I'm sorry. This is not to me what it is. And so BMR, folks, this is Bigfoot Michigan Rob. My eyes are strained tonight because I'm trying not to use my glasses. I'm trying to see if I can see the chat. Yeah. I probably should just give up on it, but I'm straining my eyes, and I'm determined to believe that I don't need them as much as I do. Probably in denial, but I'm just.
I hear you there. I had to break down and buy a pair of those cheaters at Walmart finally, because, you know, when I'm reading fine print, it just,
The
Yeah, I mean,
problem
it's
for
not.
me, Rob, is you've seen me in person a couple times, and you know how big my
Yeah.
head is.
Yeah,
Just-
well, yeah,
I'm a
you
massive
can't
guy
fit
with
them
a
on. Yeah, you have to be specially made, costing $100 probably for a cheater.
I can't. so I have to get it. I just said, you know what? I need to get a prescription. This last time I went, and I tried to tell them, I'm like, my eyes aren't that bad, and they were
Yeah.
like, well, you do need glasses, and I'm like, I don't think I do, and they're like, well, yeah, that's why you had a prescription before, and I'm like, okay, you win. My wife's sitting there shaking her head like, shut up, you know. Because if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't do any of the stuff I'm supposed to be doing for myself. But thank God to her, because she basically nurses me and takes care of me, you know. And Anthony was like saying something the other day about, he said something to Zane. You were like, well, if it wasn't for Nellie, Wolf would be dead right now. You know, it's like,
yeah,
because, you know, she's,
Yeah, your kidney would fall out, and you'd be like, get the duct tape.
I would,
yeah.
that's pretty much how it is. And she's always the you know, tells me, stop messing with that. You don't need to be messing with that. That's going to cause a problem. And I'm like, what, fire? I mean, what's the problem? I don't know. But yeah, she tells me all the time, like, you need to stop. But you know, hearing your story again, every time I hear it, it's a very sobering story. It makes me, it's a sad story, and I'm sorry that happened to you, Rob. But you wrote a book. A lot of good people, a lot of good reviews. A lot of people like it. And thinking, you know, and it's I don't, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't think I just got it. I haven't started, but like the first couple pages, whatever. Now I'm going to say this: there's a lot of people writing books, and they shouldn't be writing books. And I'm going to tell you right now, Rob. I think you do a good job on your show, and I think you did. You know, you deserve the praise for your book.
Thank you.
I was happy that it wasn't written in crayon, because I know you and know you're a smart guy, but there's some people
Right.
out there writing books, and then other people will go, oh, another piece of self-published garbage or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's why you know, you got to look at who's writing the book. If it's a smart person, they're probably going to use correct grammar and things like that. There are problems with that. People will write a book, and I'm like, I don't even want to read it. And they'll be like, did you read my
Yeah.
book? And I'm like, I tried.
Yeah.
Did you get it translated to English first? Or?
It's in
Well,
Klingon, you know.
I got to tell you a couple quick things. I'm not going to mention this person. They sent me a copy of their book. They sent it to me. I said, yeah, sure. Dude, I got this book, and you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a coloring book. It was like the text, the font was like, oh my God, it was like
Was it,
half inch. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, it was horrible.
was a
There was
golden
no,
book.
yeah, really, that's what it was. It was probably, well, no, that's a good book, but this was not even indented, no margins. And I will say this about my book: the one flaw that I was so mad because I read this thing. I did this all by myself. Jason McLean helped me with some light editing, and he also did the cover. So shout out to Jason. He's a fantastic artist. If anybody needs artwork done, but again, I edited 90% of this thing. I read it over and over on the manuscript, and I sent it. And I got to admit to you, Josh, there's a couple things in there where, man, the punctuation was off. A small letter should have been cap, and vice versa. A word was missing. I was so, I'll say, pissed because I'm very. God, I went over that with a comb, man, and so there's a couple little flaws. However, as you mentioned, thank you. The reviews are good, 5 stars. People seem to say it's very easy reading, very well put together, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I take pride in that. It was my first go around at it, and I think the people that sent me the stories, and I had to refashion some of them because, people send you an email, Josh, and when you read it how it's just sometimes you can't quite make it out. So I had to call these people back and say, now what did you mean here? So it took a lot of time. I took a lot of energy and time into that, and I will say I'm proud of it, and for my first time around. So.
Yeah, and funny that one person gave me a review, and they were like, tons of grammatical errors, needs to get an editor. They didn't even read the book. They didn't even look at the book. I
Right.
promise you they didn't, because Beth Wahesky is my editor. She's the same one that does Ken Lyle and all them's books.
Yeah.
Bull crap. I had Barton read the book. I had Anthony Tony and Ken Gerhardt read the book. My wife read the book, and then we did it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this a joke? I know you're joking. This guy he didn't read the book. He just talked crap. But that's, when you have haters. He's probably a fan of that guy that wrote a 35-page book and claims he's an author, and he's got comic books and other stuff that
Well,
nobody,
hell, well, that's a pamphlet, right?
It pretty much is a
Yeah.
pamphlet. Yeah, it's
It's a short story or like a college essay.
Mickey G says we love Beth. Yeah, we do. Beth's a good person. She's a good person.
Which, by the way, the if you're in here with us right now, the link to buy Bigfoot Michigan Rob's book is pinned at the top of the live chat. It's a pinned message. You can buy it on Amazon. So just click on that. Check them out.
Don't buy that book. Buy mine. I'm a hater.
Yeah. And also, if I like my subscription too to the show, if you guys would subscribe, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
Because looking to grow that too.
Yeah,
and
Yeah, put the link on
I
there
do
too.
appreciate it. I do
Yes.
appreciate that. And that'd
Because
be
I
great.
like to bring on other podcasters and YouTubers and people. I'm not a hater, folks. Check out their shows. Go check them out. Because there's a lot of people that'll tell me this is their hobby is watching YouTube videos, and that's what they like to do. And they'll say, "Well, I got to wait, to watch yours." And I said, "There's other days out, where I have colleagues, and I mentioned yours in Texas, and I've said Blondes and Booze. I'm saying it right now, Hellbent Holler. Go check out Jerry and Ella Williams' videos. Go check out Bettina's Cryptonormal Encounters with B. Moss. There's a bunch of them out there. Abe Seas, he's got one. There's a spiritual. What is his?
I think his channel's Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. I think.
Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. Go check him out. He focuses heavily on the spiritual side of this stuff. And some of the pictures he's got, and people say, well, I don't see anything in there. Some of them I don't, but some of them are pretty compelling. I've seen him and Bettina's when they were at the conference. Now, my next conference, Rob, are you going to come speak or what? You going to come down?
Well, I missed the last one because something was going on, but yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're inviting me, I'll be there.
Of course, as
I'm
a speaker.
I'm saving. Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely do that for sure. Count me in. Pencil me in.
Yeah.
And then, and again, in closing here, I know we're getting down to closing. I will say I just support you in the channel, what's going on, and I did put a video I published on my channel, a little 3-minute talk about what I thought my take. And the other thing I put in there too is Bettina Moss is a good friend of mine too, and I just gave her a shout out because we're friends, and I'm just gonna leave it at this. I thought that wasn't right, and I'm not gonna get into it and all that. You guys will get it. You get the gist. I put a little thing on the channel, so if you guys want to check that out as well, for Josh and my support. So anytime, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And actually, you and I want to say a shout out to Nick Valenti. He took a stand too, and I appreciate that. And he's caught a lot of heat for it, and I know that everybody who's taken a stand has caught heat, but that's because they're upset because they're being outed. I had one guy, we were friends, and he made a post, and then he took it down, and then he came at me, and he was like, "Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "Doing what?" And he was mad. He was mad because I said something about the social blade. And I said, why would you be upset about that? If you're doing everything above board, you have nothing to hide, then why are you worried about it? Why are you worried about me saying that go look at Social Blade? And he was very angry. And so I guess we're not going to talk because,
yeah.
I mean, the only reason that and he said, well, you're hurting these other people. I said, those other people need to be on above board. That's all I'm asking is to be legit. I mean, don't fake the funk, dude. That's it. It's not a hard thing.
I tell you what, the Social Blade, that's a cool tool. I mean, it's a tool hey, listen, for legitimate podcasters, it's a tool to help gauge yourself against other channels.
Mm-hmm.
It's way better than just looking up the YouTube stats on the computer, like going on someone's channel. Oh, he's got 90,000 subs. Well, okay, I see. Does he really? But it helps you. It's a great tool. It's a positive thing for me. And it's not used just to out people, right? I mean, I get it, what we're talking about with what's been happening, but it's a good tool. Hey, I'm glad that I was turned on to it because I look at my numbers every day on that. I have nice, steady lines.
That's
you don't
right.
see no spikes.
Yeah.
So that's what you want. So
yeah, if you have up and downs, you with views, the subs need to match that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that, some of these people, it's like these unnatural spikes out of nowhere, and you're like, come on, it's all like boop. What are you, an AFib? I mean, it's like obviously that's not correct. And when someone comes at me swinging because I said something about Social Blade and they're upset about it, I'm like, dude, what is your problem? because the first thing I asked this person was, "What do you have to hide?" "Don't worry about me." I was like, "Then why are you coming at me?" I mean, I could put him on blast and put his stuff on there, but I'm not going to do that. I told him, just don't talk to me again. Don't come at me again. We won't have a problem. We're okay. Just go away. Don't mess with me. Don't say anything else about me, because obviously they had a problem with the truth. And that was very eye-opening to me, that I've seen a few of these people flip out, and I'm just like, okay, this wasn't even about you, but you're mad because me and Barton Lindley brought up the whole, well, Barton did, I guess, and then told me about it and whatever, and said, look, go look up this right here. And thank you, Mr. Barton Lindley, for doing that, because he just laid the smackdown on that. You know, check out his channel too, Barton Lindley and Humanoids, and Humanoid Encounters Barton Lindley. He did his first live stream the other day, and I'm very proud of him. He's an author, and he's a rock solid author, but now he's going to be a rock solid YouTuber, and I hope he gets big. And I hope Hellbent Holler, and I hope you and Blondes and Booze, and I hope you all just, the moon, sky's the limit. I hope we all just take over, you know, the way we're supposed to, and do things correct, and our channels grow and we get big. Somebody asked me too, and I'm going to set the record straight while I got you on here too, Rob. Somebody said, well, it seems like you just want to take over everything, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. No, I don't. When this hopefully ends, all this mess, and these people leave us the heck alone, what I want for this community is everybody to go back to work as business as usual, and we work together, and we try to find answers, and we talk to each other, and we work together, and we network. Nobody needs to be the boss of anybody. That's where this all started. That's the problem, is that somebody wanted to be the king, daddy, whatever, and that's not the case. We don't need that. We don't need that crap. We don't need people making alliances to try to take other people down, whatever. If somebody's doing something fraudulent, then that's the person that needs to be dealt with, you know, not these people who are honestly doing their job, doing hard work, like Bettina, myself, Abe, Jerry, and Ella, and then, of course, Hellbent Holler. We weren't messing with these people. We didn't do anything to these people, and they came out and started attacking us because what? Because, you know, our channels are legit and we do our job, you know? I mean, these people, they're over there playing around. And the thing, I said this before, and I'll say it again, they don't work. They don't even have a job. Like, I have to work. And I have a career, and that I've had for a better part of 2 decades, and I have to deal with that. And so this is not something that's my bread and butter or whatever. For them, it is. So I guess they're willing to do anything to preserve that, and that's not me. That's not me. I didn't get into this for that. I got into it because it's my passion, and I care about this field. These people don't seem like they care about anything but making a buck, and that's the problem for me.
Yeah, the thing that I look at too is like, again, this is a passion for me, and it's been a passion since 2018, really. And then I started my actual channel 2 years ago, the podcast, but I, of course, signed up for it in 2018 because I did a quick little video on my encounter. But here's the thing, you make a great point. People that are doing this to make money or make a living, you're really, you better have another job, because, and I can see where, if you're doing this and not doing nothing else, and let's say you're making a solid go at it, a legitimate go at it. The problem is, you don't make money, right? I mean, you got to get big to make money where you can sustain your welfare, your well-being. So I can see where people say, you know what, maybe I'll just turn a few corners, do this, do that, do some superficial things. And people do that across the board. We know that there's 1 million people, 10 million people with channels, and there's people that do it the right way and the wrong way, and it's up to everybody just to figure out who they are.
Yeah, and I hope that people continue to look into all these different people, and YouTube will eventually, I hope, that I'm rooting that they'll take care of these people in this situation. And because these people are talking about they're reporting us, and I laugh. I'm like, you're reporting us? Like, you don't think they're going to look at you too? Hopefully they'll be smart enough to go, well, maybe
Well,
you're
let me tell you something. Oh, I can tell you something about reporting. This guy, now I'm not going to say who it was reporting out channels, and has nothing to do with cryptids. It was sports channels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this guy, they're putting up they're putting up a picture of what's a good sportscaster on ESPN, whoever, Skip Bayless, his picture, and then when you go on Skip Bayless, it's not him, it's somebody else. It's something totally not related. So this guy kept reporting him out. Well, guess what? Nothing happened. In fact, he got flagged for making invalid reports. So it goes both ways. They check out both parties.
Mhm.
You know, if I want
Hopefully
to
they will.
report Joe Blow, if I report Joe Blow because I don't like the guy, and it comes back that I'm fine, then the other guy gets, if he's got a channel, I should say. But
Yeah.
well, with that being said, enough of that. It's, hey man, people do what they want to do, right or wrong, and it's up to the good folks to just sit through it, sift through the bullshit, and move forward.
Yeah, I will say this: when you and I were talking about this a few days ago, you made a good point, though. I mean, like we're now starting to see who's the contender, who's the pretenders. You know, we were in the dark, and a lot of us thought that we were these smaller channels. We're not. It turns out some of these bigger channels completely fake. Not what we thought they were. We thought that, and they're paper tigers, and they were over here saber rattling, saying they're going to do this and going to do that. And you're like, with what? With what army? Bots? Because that's all you got. I mean, you know. And so, you know, I told you too that in that conversation, I was like, look, your
Yep.
channel is not. You're not as small as you think you are. You're probably, you know, like just on par with a lot of these other channels that are pretending because you have real organic growth, like a lot of the other people that we're friends with. Because I
Yep.
don't associate with these people who are doing this fakery. You know, if I know that they're doing that, but that's the difference. You know, and they thought, you know, well, these people are you know insignificant. I'm bigger than they are, whatever. But they're really not. You know, and they
Yeah.
had people believing that, and so now that brings it all crashing down. And it's something as simple as just telling people, hey, go check out this site. It'll tell you. And there's other sites too that people need to go look at and learn about these people. I mean. But I appreciate you coming on, Rob. Thank you for your time. Do you have anything closing to say?
No, I will say thank to everybody out in chat for the cool comments. Thank you so much for the support of everybody. Josh, myself, everybody, Blondes and Booze, everyone that Josh mentioned. It was a great opportunity to speak. I've always wanted to come on live and do a show because I respect the paratroopers. And so, yeah, I just thank you for the people who can go out and buy the book. I appreciate it. You'll enjoy it. My channel you'll enjoy as well. It's good guests, good conversation. We relax, we kick back, and we just do the best we can every day. I'm
Yeah.
on Tuesday nights at 9 and Thursday afternoons at 1 on the live shows. So,
Yeah, and my
with
show
that being
comes on
said,
7 on
yeah,
Tuesday. Yours will come on right after
yeah,
that. So
yeah, I'm after. So you still got people going,
yeah,
but that's okay. I'm
just
not
move
one of
right
these
over.
guys that give it. Yeah, and again, and I appreciate that. And I'm not one of these guys that looks for the scheduling. Hey, you know, it is what it is. I've been doing that show for a year now, and I don't look at, oh, who's on against me. It's another thing that bugs me. People, oh my God, you can't have this time slot. Oh, we could do another show on that. I'm gonna stop there before I say something. But yeah, thank you so much, Josh. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and so folks, remember, check him out. We put the link in here on the page. Go ahead and re-put it, Anthony. He comes on, like you said, on Tuesdays. He comes on after me. We only have an hour slot on Tuesday, and then check him out. And actually, I think, but this Tuesday we'll have a 2 hour slot because it's Halloween.
Yeah.
What are you doing for Halloween? You got anything going on?
Oh, Tuesday night. Well, yeah, we'll be on probably around the same time, but no big deal. I'm doing a Halloween show. Me, Tex, the Blondes, the Booze, Jason McLean, a couple special guests. We're talking Halloween stories Tuesday night, and yeah, to close out Halloween because Tuesday is in fact Halloween. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're doing a Halloween show Tuesday.
Well, I'll be checking you out because ours will be over by 9 o'clock. But I don't even. It doesn't matter because it's pre-recorded. Should be good. So that'll give you guys something to do, man. So all right, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. You're a true friend. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks everybody in chat.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All right, bye.
All right. Bye.
So that's Rob. Good guy. One of the real people in this field. So let's see here. Let's go back to this. Can you enlarge the screen here? It's not coming up. There it goes. All right. So tonight, you know, what we ended up, you know, we talked about a lot of different things, and that's what we do on the Friday show, and that's how the show runs. That's how the show goes. Sorry if some people didn't, you know, we said a couple things that needed to be said, but I mean, it is what it is. You know, I want to say something before I get out of here. People keep telling me, you know, that I should ignore these and do this and do that. There gets to a certain point where you can't ignore certain things and certain people. It has to be addressed. One of the things that I'm going to tell you right now is that this situation that's going on is probably one of the most important things that's happened in a long time. And they're not just important to me, but important to all of you out there. Because it is literally fake versus real, lies versus truth, good versus evil. And I'm not joking. I'm being completely serious when I say that. This is not some beef between podcasters and YouTubers and whatever. These are people who are doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and they're mad because they've been called out. And they tried to mess with us. They started it. Two of the main offenders, they started it. They went after Bettina, and they said some horrible things, racist things. And she's the only black female that does this. Everybody knows that. And she's my friend and my ally in this. And I came to her in ABC's defense. But then two other channels got involved because they had been attacked and persecuted by them too. And then another person came along and inserted himself into that other camp and started it. Nobody started with him. If you go to my Facebook, you can read the text. Nobody. That was how it started with him. I asked him a simple question about somebody, and he started talking about some other guy, and then threatened me. So that's what he did, you know. And so you know, he said I tried to frame it as a threat. Go look at the comment and see what you think it is. It's pretty damning. And I posted it up there for everybody to see. Do I want to turn my Facebook into a war zone? No, I do not. Do I want to do that with my YouTube channel? Absolutely not. I'm doing everything I can to keep it off my YouTube channel. As far as the show goes, I don't want it to affect my show. I have complained. Yes, I have. And I'm going to continue if this behavior continues and they don't stop. And it's, you know, they want to drive me and Bettina off more than anything in the world. And really and truly, they're very angry about the conference. We were excited, and we went to announce the conference, and my friend, Eric, who's been on the show, he told me, he's like, as soon as you announce that, they're going to be very angry. So prepare for that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just not do anything because they don't want me to do it? I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm tired of getting picked at and messed with by these people. I'm tired of getting, you know, and I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it. I'm not scared of you. I'm not going to stop. You don't scare me. Okay. Miguel, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. They've attacked everything about my show, my eyebrows, my hair. Look, does it look like I care? I'm having a bad hair day and I don't even care. I don't care. You're not going to stop me.
You're just
I don't
mad
give a
because you
crap.
have hair.
Well, yeah, and they're all, none of them do. Actually, none of them do,
No.
except for one. I think one of them does. So you're mad because I have hair, and you guys don't. You're mad because I have a successful real show. That, you know, 2 conferences. You know, we did books. One of them attacked how I looked on TV, whatever. Who cares? What do you? So what? Why do you care?
You're on TV then.
It's like that's trash anyway. Oh, let me use this to scratch my back. But it's like a high school drama, you know, like high school girls or something. You're mad. You mean, oh my God, Josie thinks he's rich. Oh my God, you know, that's what it's like.
They act like a bunch of bitter old women.
Mhm.
Viejas, as if, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Culeras.
that's what they act like, and you know, they've attacked my heritage, they've attacked Bettina, they've attacked everything about it, and then they go and cry that we're doing it to them. Somehow I'm racist. My mom's Mexican. I've said this before. You pan the camera over to Anthony. Look at him. Now you can stick your head in there, Tony. What are you doing?
Oh,
I mean, like,
He's like, oh.
I'm darker than some black people that I've met.
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
mean,
stupid.
It-
To
it-
say,
it-
oh,
it's-
she's racist.
the whole racist thing is ridiculous. And I've said this before, my adopted son is black. So, I mean, he's my brother's son. I took him in when he was 14. So, you know, this is, to me, pretty offensive to say those things and accuse me of the things that have been, and there's no witnesses. In an exchange between him and Barton, he tried to say he had a witness, and I told Barton, I said, tell him, bring the witness. Bring the witness. Still to this day, we're waiting for the witness. Where's the witness? Where is your witness that heard me or saw me or where I wrote it, whatever? There's not, because I'm not that person. That's
All
a
you
lie.
need is a screenshot to prove that. So
You can
where
prove
is
it very easily with a screenshot. That you know it's not true, and I've been telling you every day to do it. No response. What I have gotten is a bunch of vitriolic libel, every day on their community page. And then the other one, he's telling people to go and he's telling people that he wants everybody to go and report us. I'm going to show you this, folks. This was him. This was him reporting. This is what he did right here. I'm going to show you. Can you read that? I don't know if I can get it over with the camera.
I have to put your hand behind it.
Put my hand behind it.
Yeah, so that you're covering your face.
Try to do it, Tony. See if we can get in there. Go
See,
down
that,
just
and
a
that's
little.
like a form
There
of
it is.
harassment.
Every time PRT is live, report him for fake bots and views. This is a non-warning offense that will automatically delete any account doing this permanently. But I'm not afraid because I'm legit. That comes from another channel, AI. That was his channel that did that.
Yeah, so I'm sure that they've been reporting this live stream the whole time. But guess what? We're still here. It hasn't done anything because we're legit. So
Yep. Because our numbers are legit. And any honest person can take a look at that. How you can get away with going and telling people to do that, I don't know. That's the question I'm going to have to ask, because you telling your listeners to do that is really ridiculous, okay? I'm not telling people to go mass report them,
Cyber harassment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's against YouTube's TOS.
Yeah, it should be recognized. So, that there's a lot of answers that things they need to answer for. Chris Anderson, you're right here. One of them in particular that you've been looking into. They can't answer these questions. It's very simple.
Chris also said there was a post about Bettina in his group, and they're probably going to be going after her again.
They've been they slowed down a little bit. They took a little bit of a break because they were all focused on me, and they couldn't. All of you together couldn't stop me. Okay. It's really sad. You Decepticons are all jumping on you're jumping on Optimus Prime. You can't stop me, and you just there's 5 of you, and you're just taking turns trying to fight, and you're like breathing hard. But it wouldn't surprise me if you breathe hard going up the stairs. So that's probably
They breathe hard going down the stairs.
that's probably the case. I mean, you're probably not very in shape.
just the thought of physical exercise looks like it'll exhaust them.
Oh, dude, they're bad, out of shape looking people. And they want to talk about fighting me. Can't even think with a straight face. I can't even imagine that.
I mean, you get your
I actually coach people that like to fight. I mean, what are your thoughts? When you say these crazy things, are you thinking it through? You're talking about me not thinking things through. Are you thinking it through? Because that's crazy.
low IQ, high BMI people.
It's crazy. So, folks, anyways, I just want to say this. If anybody else needs to come forward, now's the time. We need to stand together, especially the women that out there who have been, had some issues. Don't be afraid right now. Right now is your chance to speak, okay? Pan the camera to Chris. Chris has been working with some of the females that have been messed with about, through this whole thing. And if you got anything you want to send to him, he can help you with that. And that's something you came up with. I didn't tell you to do that. That's something that you wanted to do to help
himself.
Yeah, because you saw what was going on, and me being frustrated with the attacks on the women in this community, and there is some serious harassment.
It's bad. It is
Very
really bad. It's really, really bad how
Thank you, Holly, for that
these
donation.
women are being abused.
And some of them, it's just a harassment thing, like a sexual harassment thing. What happened?
What?
The screen just everything.
You probably kicked the. It's fine.
Sorry, no, it's showing weird stuff there. It's throwing codes, man. No, it's not a car, but all cars have computers in them now. But the thing is, some of these females that have sent me information, and then you tell me, well, I'm not ready to talk about it publicly. I get it. I understand. But you really need to think about it, because some of this stuff it needs to be turned in to the proper authorities. I know that they said that they couldn't, but you need to, because this can't be allowed to stand.
I would ask y'all to think of other women who have not yet gone through what you've gone through, but who are still exposed to these people. And if you're not able to come forward, then that's what allows these people to continue to do what they do to potential other innocent people, men, women, children. They don't care if you're in the way of whatever deviant thing they have going. They'll come after you. They don't. They have no scruples. They have no morals. They've proven that time and time again. So you've been through. If you've been through it with these people, I understand your reservations. I understand your fear. But I'm asking you, please, to think of other innocent people out there, and what they might go through. It might even be worse for them. We don't. I mean, God forbid, but that's still a possibility. So these people have to be exposed. They have to be outed. And if there was ever a time, it's now. So please think about that. That's all I can ask of you.
Yeah. And go ahead. You want to say
I was
something?
gonna say this is that the victims that do come forward,
Mhm.
even though it might have been in the past, we could still bring your story up. You might be able to save those who are either being abused now, or who might even take interest in some of these people, and you could prevent them from getting hurt too.
Mhm.
But you need to speak up though. You need to come forward.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. Some of you that I spoke with, it's I understand. Like, I understand what you're saying. I mean, you're close by to some of these people.
The best way, in my opinion, to keep yourself safe from them is to let people know what they've done and what they've gotten you scared, and you're silent.
Mhm.
You're not silent behind the scenes, but you're silent, and you need to come forward. You need to come forward, and if you do, none of us can guarantee your safety. The police can't guarantee your safety, but that's the first step to not living in fear. They have one girl that's so afraid, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And her friend has come forward, and she's saying what needs to be said, but she's trying to get her to come forward. And it's like you're doing the right thing, and not just for yourself, not just for us and yourself or whoever. But like Anthony was saying, Chris was saying, people who are in the future that could be their victims. This, folks, this goes really deep. When somebody trivializes this situation, they say, "Oh, you just get I'm sick tired of it, block and delete, blah blah blah." This is not a block and delete thing. Okay, you cannot block and delete this kind of behavior. We have to, as a community, take a stand right now. Come together. I don't care who's the leader. That's not important to me. Who's the boss? There's no boss. There's no leaders. We're all equal. All of us are equal. Every listener here in this chat, I'm no better than you are. All of us at this table right here, we are all equal human beings. God does not look at me and look at them and go, "Oh, I like that guy better." No, that is not how God works. I do not believe that. We are all equal. We are all God's children. It doesn't matter whether your gender, your race, your religion. I don't care. God loves everybody. Now, it's up to you to do the right thing and love God correctly. And that's between you and God. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm not here to preach. I'm going to tell you this. You stepping up and saying something and going forward, you know what that does for the other people? It gives them something, some hope. And I applaud the women that have come forward already and the guys that have come forward and said, "Hey, these people, this is not correct. This is not right. This has to stop." And then we need to make a stand right now, right here as a community. And we need to back these people up that are victims and that are coming forward and saying, "These people did this, they did that." And these nasty people, they keep trying to cover their tracks, and it keeps getting exposed. You know by who? The paratroopers. That's who's doing it. The Hellbenders. That's who's doing it. Bettina Moss's people. That's who's doing it. Those people, the people that support BMR, the people that support Blondes and Booze, those are the people coming forward. Those are the heroes. You're the hero. You're the one that's the hero, not me. I'm just a guy up here complaining. You know what I mean? I'm getting attacked. I'm being victimized too. But I'm not no helpless, wilting willow. I'm not going to sit back and take it. I don't care. I'll fight all of you by myself if I have to. However you want to do that. I'm going to do it correct. I'm going to do it legal. But you're not going to win. You will not bully me. You will not push me around. And you will not push my listeners around. As long as there's one listener that's complaining to me about you, I'm going to continue to fight. I don't care. I don't care. Do what you want. Take whatever you want, because you know what? I have another job. I have 2 other jobs. I have 2 businesses. I don't care. You keep on going and messing with whatever. YouTube's great. I love YouTube. I think YouTube's awesome. But if they decide that they want to be, well, we don't care, whatever, then that's fine too. I'll just go to another whatever. It doesn't matter. Because these people, they need to be dealt with. And something needs to happen. Because they are some of the worst people. Some of the worst people. There really needs to be some sort of, on any of these platforms, I really think that they need to do some sort of vetting of these people's past. And if you have certain things on there, that should be, you don't do it. You don't get on. But I can't tell them how to dictate their policies. None of these different platforms. It's not my platform. I don't have a platform. I didn't make a platform. But there needs to be some sort of somebody says, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen. So if you have this on a record, you shouldn't be allowed to do this. But, where we're at is where we're at. But this could be the beginning of a movement, something even bigger. It doesn't even have to stay in the paranormal community. It could go wherever, because anywhere that there's harassment and bullying and all this other nasty stuff that they're doing, there needs to be a stop to it. I learned a lot that was very eye-opening for me through this whole thing. Things that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that this was happening. I had no idea when I first got into this fray. It was to help Tina and Abe. I didn't know how deep this went. And I thought it was just one guy that was doing it, but then, 4 others popped up. There's like this big hydra. And then there's roots, and there's all these cliques and these little whatever that are covering for them and doing all that. And we uncovered, it was like tunnel ratting. We just uncovered more and more and more. It's the truth. And if you want good quality content, you want somebody like BMR or Hellbent Holler or
You said it right.
Hellbent Holler. I was going to say Hellbent or Holler. Hellbent Holler or us or Bettina or any of these other podcasters or YouTubers or whoever you're into, whatever you're into. You want people who are going to be in their respective field and to do it correctly and do it right and do the best job that they can and entertain you. That's why you're listening, right? Well, then that's what you need to do. If you want your favorite people to still be around and not be run off, then you got to take a stand, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to run off the good people so that the charlatans, the hucksters, and the jokers and the hoaxers, that they're the ones left. We don't want that, because once it's just a bunch of carnies, what do you think it is? It's just them sleight of hand, prestidigitation. That's all it is. It's just poof. It's nothing. It's not real. It's just a bunch of fake whatever. So, folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to us. Our time is up here. We got to go. We've enjoyed it. Thank you to BMR for showing up and being on the show. He's great. Thank you so much. Pink Dahlia, what did she say? Thank you for the donations. Everybody who donated, it's greatly appreciated. I know it hurts their feelings when you do that.
I just want to say one more thing, a couple more things. Wanted to give a shout out to Chris Anderson, who was did some digging around and stuff on Vault. So if you want to check out those files, what he pulled out, just go to Josh Turner's Facebook page. I believe he posted it there. And then for those who are always constantly saying that, like, the whole drama thing, just like, they're tired of the drama. It's like, you got people who are victims here, like real victims. For you to say that you want this drama to stop, or people to stop talking about it and stuff, you really need to think about the victims in this case. Because you saying that, it just goes to show you don't care, and we need you to care.
Yeah, and it is a fight that we're in now, and there's no going back or trying to get out of it. I'm going to read that last comment by Pink. What'd she say? She said, can you read it?
Yeah, she said, Wolf, we had Ian from Earth Files in here tonight to learn about this topic. He and Linda Moulton Howell, they want to interview Joe. I hope in the end my channel will add something to the community.
You already do. Okay, I know you in my personal life, and I know Joe in my personal life. You've been in my conferences. Joe, I interviewed he was in my book. Joe's a very, very cool guy, very laid-back guy, and so are you. And I'm going to tell you, thank you for always supporting us and being our friends. Thank you for always being there. We've had conversations, too. We've talked on the phone, and like I've met you a couple times in person. So you're good people. I thank you for being a part of what we do here. Thank you to everyone, and good night.